I didn't just make that up. That's And welcome to the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate North American. And welcome into the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate North American April 2022 Open. I'm your play-by-play host, Jordan Kent, but joining me, two of the greatest scholars when it comes to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate lore and knowledge. We've got EE and Coney. Guys, it's been a while. So much to get excited about. We got tournaments, we got online play. It seems like the excitement just continues to ramp up more and more for this game. But let's start with you here, Coney. What are you most excited for with this tournament here today?
Honestly, man, I love these events because they really do have an excellent mixture of like familiar faces, but also some hot, hungry new talent that I've seen perform well at these events and then go into offline events and really blow up and really take some names. I'm really interested to see how these guys are going to perform today against some of the best. I mean, Vendetta is in the bracket. That's one of the best Shoto players in the world. Can't wait to see it.
And to his point, there's a lot of young talent that is just continuing to emerge no matter where you look, no matter where you go in this scene. And there we have Mega Hog X, Vargoose, Vendetta, and Josathan. And you look at this young talent, it just goes to show you that this game, this meta, continues to evolve.
Oh, 110%. It's always interesting to me because like you'll have the new hotness come out, for characters, and they'll kind of be, you'll be plagued by them online, and that's all the matchups you get. But a lot of people are just like, you know what? I started out with one character. I think I can pilot him through the meta and kind of like lean my way and just find success, which I think we're going to see with a couple of these players in the bracket. Not necessarily going the DLC route, just going the route that's got them this far. I mean, the game's been out for quite a while, so if you're invested that much into your main, you got to show up with them.
And as you saw there, you took a look at the bracket. There will be a winner side and a loser side. It's double elimination, best of three, nothing that people haven't seen before. If you take a look at the prizes, real quick, highlighting some of the features in the grand prize, you've got 10,000 My Nintendo Gold points. You also have a chance to get a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate jacket. You've got a Nintendo versus North American Open trophy, just to name a few of the things that you can get. So, yes, there's bragging rights, but you get a chance to bring home some hardware and some fun stuff there. But I want to talk to you guys about this ever-evolving meta that we see in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. What do you guys have you seen, as we can start here with Mega Hawk X and Vargoose, what have you guys seen on the competitive scene that continues to change?
Honestly, man, it's Rob. Rob is everywhere. This is the character du jour right now. Guy is all over the place. I think he was the most represented character at a recent large tournament that we just had. And he was, I think, 8 of the top 32, which is absurd.
Yeah, and we see this online all the time. That Rob, whether it's in person or online, a very strong, versatile character to pick from. That it's got so many options when it comes to especially stage control.
You want to talk about the blueprint for a great character, Jordan? Look no further than Rob, okay? He can beat you in the range game. He can box up close with you and just accumulate damage. Good follow-ups off the throws, able to just edge guard perfectly. He's a character that when he really wants to impose his will, he can get in there and really make things difficult for you. That's one thing that I think has really led to the rise of Rob and people realizing this is such a good go-to character. To Coney's point, yes, the representation kind of justifies that. Like, he's not going anywhere as well, even as this meta continues to evolve.
You right now, Mega Hog X with Mega Man doing a great job of just taking center stage now, just trying to keep Margroup off the side of the stage. And what we're seeing here, Coney, when you are playing as a Mega Man, you got to have that fine balance between projectiles and making sure you got that proper spacing.
It's definitely a variation between the two. You don't want to just be away from the opponent the whole time. Mega Man's not the best zoner in the world. Obviously, he has a ton of projectiles, but obviously Rob fits right up there with him. Has 2 projectiles, has a lot of stuff to get in close, and it feels like we're seeing 2 characters that, yes, they can fight from a distance, but both of them can also box up close, and whoever gets this first KO, that's really going to decide, I think, who's going to tear away in this match.
That's what we're looking for, EE, is that first KO, but it looks like Vargoose might have the upper hand here at this moment, but neither one of these fighters wanting to really yield position, and there goes the first KO as Vargoose able to close out that stock.
Took a little while to get there, but yes, that Nair coming through and securing that first stock. And now what you want to do here is just increase this lead, like to call a little bit of extra credit. And that's the main thing you're trying to get to, but it can be difficult, Jordan. Those kind of percents can lead themselves to some dangerous situations, and on even footing, we find ourselves yet again knotted up at 2 stocks apiece.
Yeah, Mega Hog X doing a real nice job there, Coney, just closing out that stock to even things up at 2 apiece. And now we see a couple of grabs here, can't leak into combos, and an excellent out-of-shield option that we just saw from Vargoose.
There's a lot of aerial play here. You're seeing them jump around each other a whole bunch, trying to catch each other jumping. I mean, that's how we saw the first KO go. Mega Hog was really trying to catch Vargoose jumping out of shield, but Vargoose actually caught him with a neutral air instead. Now we're going to see a down throw. It's not going to combo into anything. Vargoose kind of dropping that confirmation hit.
Here we see the back throw coming out from Mega Hog X. We saw Vargoose get a couple of real solid hits, then one after another to build up some of that percentage. But at this point now, it's about Mega Hog X EE just trying to keep Vargoose off balance, not allowing him to get into his groove at this moment.
100%, just kind of exactly like you said, just keep them off balance. One thing Mega Man tends to have going for them is the fact they are quite heavy, right? So they're going to be able to survive a lot of tricky situations that otherwise might KO other characters. So that's going to kind of be his window to make these comebacks. See the Crash Bomber attached, but it's kind of breaking up the pressure a little bit. But these follow-ups are just so clean from Vargoose. He said, "You Vargone, baby." I like what I'm seeing.
Vargoose with a nice cross up there to get on the backside, and now it's a 2-1 stock advantage for Vargoose. Let's see if Vargoose here, at a critical moment, Coney, can rack up some of that percentage to make life easier on that final stock.
This is the most comfortable lead we've seen so far in the set. I mean, they've been sort of neck and neck so far, but having that full stock advantage, especially on somebody like Mega Man, it can be difficult for Mega Man to sometimes get the KO without like a hard back air read or something like a Z-drop Metal Blade. You can see him going for the up tilt, but you're going to have to get the strong hit of that, which is kind of difficult to do since Rob is so good at boxing you up close. Him being such a heavy character is going to be really tough for Mega Hog to get that KO.
It feels like we're seeing a lot of solo hits from Mega Hog X, but it's Vargoose that's able to just link up those combinations that's been giving him the major advantage so far on this second stock.
100%, it just kind of goes to the point of Rob just being like the blueprint for an elite character, right? Like you can put together your combo strings. Oh my goodness, was looking for that back here, not quite able to get it.
There it is. There it
Beautiful
is.
tech.
That was fantastic.
The final stock for both fighters. Obviously a huge advantage for Vargoose who's trying to close things out. Mega Hog X, that power pellet meter just running down at this point. Could really use an energy tank, Coney, but you're not going to find one in Pokemon Stadium 2 as Vargoose closes it out.
No E-tanks here, unfortunately, and no little minions to try to break off to try to get some energy. There's nothing there for him. Vargoose is going to stand tall in game one.
And really in that second stock, I just felt like Vargoose's ability, we said it, to generate those combos, to string those together versus the solo hits of Mega Hog X, that seemed to really be the differentiating factor in that first round.
Yeah, 100%. It was a total turnaround from when we saw, when they were all on even stocks, starting the game off 3 stocks apiece, obviously like trading back and forth with those KOs. But once you saw, Vargoose kind of settle in, start to get the strings going, that's when it became a completely different game. He just kind of ran away with it.
All right, looks like they're both ready again. Don't waste any time. No need to overthink it. Rob versus Mega Man once again. It's the battle bots at it here. And this time you got a little bit of a change in the stage here. Anything you might see affecting the gameplay, Coney?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think Mega Man definitely is the more projectile-oriented of these two characters, and I think Final Destination really helps him out in that regard. I think he'll be able to use the stage's space and distance to try to keep space away from Vargoose. But right now, Vargoose doing a good job of keeping him in the corner. You can see him using that laser and the gyro to point Mega Hog right at the ledge and get him stuck there. He's got a huge percentage advantage because of it.
Mega Hog X trying to control the stage. Vargoose able to get right back on. Doesn't hold shield quite long enough. Here's another opportunity for Mega Hog X. Then, the Robo Beam coming out again. It just really feels like Vargoose gets those big hits when they need to and is able to follow up once again.
100%. I mean, he's really just bullying him when you really look at how this one has kind of opened up thus far. That was a big opening. Surprised it wasn't a stock loss, but this might be it. Yes, the follow up off the down throw. Going to do it. That up smash so powerful and potent and hitting its marks. So that's going to be a clean lead for Vargoose. Looking to maybe get this one 2-0.
Gosh, Coney, and that down throw from Rob just sets up so many options out of that, doesn't it?
Definitely, yeah. It's kind of absurd when you look at it, because most characters, what they have is they have a throw to either get the KO or just to set up into damage. Rob gets a little bit of both on that one. The down throw can set up into a 50-50 KO, and there is that Z-Drag. Sorry, I just love the metal bladed up tilt. I got to stop everything I'm saying when I see that. But no, Rob's down throw, I mean, you're going to see it at all points in the match, but especially when when times come to get that KO, because he's going to do the down throw and try to go for an up air or an up smash on the 50-50.
And I really like how Vargoose is doing a great job of throwing that gyro out, and as soon as Mega Hog X tries to avoid the gyro, there's an option and a counter punch coming from Vargoose.
Man, that's your plan A, B, and C. When you're Rob, you understand you kind of live and fall by the gyro, and I feel like it's definitely been way more prevalent in this game than we saw in the last, maybe just given the more open space that FD kind of encourages. So it's working out very good to his favor so far, really hunting for that second stock and not too far off of getting it as he's just patrolling that right side, continuing the pressure.
Aerials flying out left and right.
Ooh.
Percentage racking up a solid hit right there. And another one in the follow-up, Coney.
That was incredible. You saw that Mega Hog kind of smelled something on Vargoose. He was like not quite placing himself correctly. He wasn't respecting Mega Hog just running in and doing that. You saw it first time with that one hit, and then he got the forward air just sneaking up on him. Vargoose not expecting Mega Hog to just run up like that. Actually steals the KO first, and now is living all the way almost to 180.
Mega Hog X is trying to put a little hay in the barn for the winter at this point, trying to get as much as they can before that final stock. So far doing an excellent job of staying alive here, and this is when you balance EE. Are you going to be aggressive, or do you play more of a zoning game with Mega Man at this point?
Oh, I mean, for Vargoose, it's kind of been like, back and forth. I can't believe that actually hit on the last possible second.
Shocking.
Yeah, we'll take it, though, baby. Rob privilege. Sometimes you just get there, and sometimes you need to, because you definitely can see the momentum shifting in the favor of Mega Hog X 100%. Sometimes Smash can be a game of runs, and Mega Hog was certainly on one as he continues to try and tear through this final stock and even us up.
Vargoose, Mega Hog X trading blows, a couple of dabs coming out. Beautiful back air. The Metal Blade trying to keep Vargoose at bay. The gyro there. Back throw though, Coney and Mega Hog X in a situation now where they can control the stage.
Yeah, looking pretty good. You can see that Mega Hog X was going off stage quite a bit, trying to dunk Vargoose with that down air like we just saw on stage. Might have given up stage a few times, then opted, okay, I'm just going to sit here. But there it is again. That's what I was talking about before, trying to catch jumps. Jumping is such a powerful option in this game that you'll see players throw out those KO options in the air, trying to catch the opponent jumping out of their shield. Right now, 152 on Vargoose, just one hit away from going to game 3.
Back air blocked. Here comes Vargoose trying to come in closely. Topspin doesn't connect. Another aerial from Vargoose, and all of a sudden, Vargoose might have taken the upper hand. Here is Mega Hog X just trying to get back on stage. Metal Blade trying to set things up. Metal Blade still on the stage. Gyro flying there. Nuts and bolts from both robotic fighters flying everywhere. Who is going to survive the longest? EE, at this point, you're Vargoose. It feels like you're playing a little bit more of a distance game and just waiting for an opening against Mega Hog.
Vargoose has been so disciplined with staying grounded for the majority of these interactions, and that is exactly what has got him back in this game, and that could be the throw to end it.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. And how about that? Vargoose able to come from behind and take it, Coney. And a lot of times, too, you mentioned, and we heard it from EE, it's a bit of a run sometimes in any given matchup, but if you can just persist, we saw Vargoose at the end there really seemed to dominate the stage control and just kept Mega Hog X on their heels.
It's just survival at that point. I mean, Vargoose realized that his win condition was just trying to stay alive as long as possible. I mean, they were at, 150, 160 for such a long time. And that's the power of Rob, is having that KO throw. I mean, we talked about down throw a lot, but we didn't even mention up throw, which is pretty strong on its own. But when you factor in elements like Rob's percent, his rage, it only gets higher. Well done to Vargoose, just expertly played on that last stock.
So that means Vargoose will advance to the winners final, and that leaves up Vendetta and Joshathan up next here. So Vargoose, excellent job there with Rob towards the end, just holding things out. And so Vendetta and Joshathan, whoever advances, you've said it before, EE, when you're going up against a Rob, you've got to account for everything. Is there anything that you've learned through the years and the matches that you've called that if you're facing a really good Rob player, you need to keep this in mind?
Well, I mean, for me, it's just about patience, because like frustration is something that's so easy to kind of mount, especially like when you're in a close situation like what we saw in that last game. I mean, it just came down to the fact that Vargoose was so smart and disciplined, like I said, just staying grounded, because you saw Mega Hog just throwing out a lot of back airs, a lot of aerials, trying to catch him, trying to clip him, but nothing was really getting the job done. And then in that one instance where he's like, okay, let me just take a little bit of safety, a little bit of refuge here on the right side, that's when he run up, grabbed him, and just finished it off. So patience is your best friend, but even under duress, it can be hard.
Definitely. it kind of feels like with Rob, there are all these like little mini matchup stuff that you can sort of throw out. You can hit him when he's trying to come down with neutral air, catch him in the air, stop him when he's trying to fly. But really, I think like he said, it comes down to the macro, just not getting frustrated, not getting annoyed, not getting mad at him because he's trying to frustrate you from a distance and trying to put you off your game.
Yeah, because imagine there's so much you have to account for when you're taking on a quality Rob player, and that is, where's the gyro? Is my distancing right? Can Rob reach me with the limbs here at this point? That it's almost like an information overload to a certain extent when you're trying to juggle everything that you have to counter.
Yep. 100%. You know, one thing that I noticed he actually did not do was he didn't really utilize the gyro to his favor too, right? Because that's one thing, when you take that gyro away from Rob, sometimes it can really slow him down and make him rethink the game plan. We'll see, maybe Vendetta can handle a little bit as better than what we saw in the last one, because yet again, Jordan, Rob is making another appearance.
Yeah, get used to seeing a lot of Rob, nothing wrong with that, but here is Vendetta coming out with one of the Shotos and Ken, and let's see if these long golden locks can punch their way to the winner's final. At this point, early lead for Vendetta, but with these Shoto characters, it really seems like, Coney, that you've got to be very precise with when your combos are going to land, and you've got to link that initial hit into more damage.
Definitely. By the way, I love the Johto shout out since we're on.
Hey, you know, I played a little Pokemon Gold and Silver before this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Had to give some love to some of the other regions, definitely. But yeah, when it comes to Shotos, there's such a weird character archetype because they really do have to be precise in their movements. They have proximity normal, so you have to know which one's going to hit. Usually, it just leads you to going into a couple, known bread and butter setups that are going to be good for racking up damage and then eventually getting the KO. Vendetta is one of the experts at this, one of my favorite Shoto players to watch, along with Aiken. Had to give a shout out to Aiken, Chicago native Ryu player that basically just recently made a huge splash. So love these guys, love to see Vendetta play. But right now, Joshathan giving him a run for his money.
Yeah, Josh has been really storming back after being down 30-0 on the percentage. But how about the Shoryuken connecting? Still not enough, though, as Josh has been able to get back on stage and beautiful block and counter of that last Shoryuken.
100%. Rob kind of get a little bit of fortunate, able to lean into some of that heavyweight body that he has to survive some of these hits that might take out a lesser weighted character in some situations. But I'll tell you what, Josh has been really impressing me out the gate, kind of keeping pace with Vendetta, as Coney highlighted. Very polished player in the offline realm as well, so clearly not going to be any kind of slouch in this one.
Stocks are even up at 2 apiece, but it feels like Joshathan is the one that continues to just keep Vendetta at bay. Throwing out those gyros, connects again off stage. Vendetta trying to recover, but how about the edge guarding that we're seeing right now from Joshathan, Coney?
Yeah, Joshathan doing a great job of knocking Vendetta. Oh my goodness, that reversal was almost supreme. Unfortunately, he did fall out, but Vendetta almost had an amazing reversal that might have gotten the KO. But regardless, yeah, Joshathan's doing a great job of forcing Vendetta to use that Tatsu. When Ken or Ryu, he's gone. He's gone. That's a down air. He's gone into the depths. Man, I'm not even going to finish my thought. We got more match to cast.
The Vendetta burying Joshathan, stealing a quick stock, and all of a sudden, we've got a lot of excitement in this first round. Here comes Joshathan chasing down Vendetta. Just a something about that to close it out, EE.
Oh, my Lord. I mean, you couldn't even finish the sentence before he finished the stock. I mean, he was on that boy like he stole something. My goodness. That was something to appreciate. Joshathan coming out the gate, just swinging, back air connecting, and that first game solidly going in his favor. Wow.
And that's what's scary, Coney, when you look at Rob and just the tools at their disposal. You can go ahead and zone out if you want to. You can stage control with the gyro, but if you just want to get up close to somebody and box, you can certainly do that. And we saw that from Joshathan to close that out.
You could do anything with Rob. He's really an all-purpose tool. I mean, Rob can fight up close. He can fight from a distance. He's great at edge guarding, too, as you can see there. I mean, I was talking about it before, trying to force Vendetta to use the Tatsu because there's a lot of end lag on that, and Joshathan was able to punish him, and then catching the back air at the very end. Looks like we got to change the scene now. A lot more platforms at a smaller stage, which I do think will help Vendetta quite a bit here on Yoshi's Island.
Then once again dropping down, and it's just linking up those combos. He is following up with those aerials and then being able to just chase down Vendetta. It feels like Vendetta just can't get at a disadvantage, and there you go. There's the first stock.
Yeah, that could be the double-edged sword of going to a smaller stage like this. You see Jonathan able to exploit that and easily remove off that first stock. I mean, what I'm noticing most about him, it seems like there's just no wasted movement, right? Everything is done with a plan, with a purpose in mind, and Vendetta really has not been able to really slow this train down. Maybe this conversion will do it. Yes, it will. Shoryuken will help, but the momentum I still maintain is on the side of Jonathan.
Definitely.
Vendetta doing an excellent job of responding to him, but all of a sudden just getting juggled like bowling pins up top is Jonathan. Able to rack up so much percentage, and that's the thing. It feels like once you get into disadvantage against Jonathan or Rob here, Tony, you've got to do everything you possibly can to get out of it. If not, you're going to be at a huge deficit.
Especially if you're Ken. I think the Shotos in particular have very bad disadvantage states, and once you get knocked into one spot, it's very difficult to get out. Obviously, you have stuff like focus cancels, but that air dodge just straight left, I think he wanted to go up a bit or just maybe a little bit faster, unfortunately not grabbing the ledge. But really, Shotos just have, when they're trying to fall, they have the focus cancel trying to absorb a hit. But that's all it really comes down to. When you have a character with a multi-hit up air that can juggle you like that, it just becomes harder and harder to actually get down. You see Vendetta landing the Shoryu twice, and it's still not KOing, even on a small stage. Finally, the Fire Flame Fist will take out that second stock.
Yeah, there's that one thing. Third time's the charm certainly was for Vendetta, and all of a sudden Vendetta has turned the tables against Jonathan, trying to eat that gyro, but controlling the middle of the stage, and oh my goodness, he almost linked that up into something filthy.
It could have been pretty disgusting there. Goes for another big-time play off the gyro, not quite able to connect. One thing about Vendetta, though, he's got that warrior spirit. You got to have that if you're going to pilot a character like Ken. So definitely able to battle back anybody's game, but so critical that he gets this one to even up the score, or else we're going to see another 2-0 in this semis.
Vendetta occasionally kind of wait out Jonathan and Rob, but this is the sense of this match where you feel like Jonathan starts to get rewarded for their patience, but not this time. V for Vendetta and V for victory, baby. Vendetta ties this thing up and won a piece, Tony.
Yeah, terrific use of the stage there. I think that stage really helps out Vendetta quite a bit just because it is so much smaller and it's easier to get your hands on Rob because Rob, like you said, can play that distance game or it can just fight you straight up. Feels like Vendetta was able to shift the momentum, but I think the biggest thing in the end of the stocks was Vendetta found a much easier time actually getting the KO. It felt like every time that Josh then would get the KO himself, because Josh did get it first pretty often, Vendetta would immediately answer back with a Shoryu, which he was not able to do immediately first game. So we'll see how he carries that into the third.
And it really seems like that Shoryu is the best finisher, the best KO move that Vendetta has. If you're Jonathan, I feel like you've got to expect that now after 2 rounds that, hey, this is coming when I'm getting my high percentages. I've got to be very patient when I block it. This is a huge window to counter if I can.
100%. And there's a couple situations too I noticed on that other game where he was looking to kind of maybe down tilt or just find another follow-up and kind of link some hits together, but almost seemed like Vendetta baited that to an extent of just kind of ready, like, okay, I can just mash here and just catch you fishing a little bit and make you pay. I feel like that's how the last game actually ended, so it has taken us to this third game, which is firmly in favor of Vendetta within this first 30 seconds.
Now, oddly enough, this was Jonathan's ideal stage in their first matchup, but now it's Vendetta that doesn't mind if they've got a little bit more real estate to work with. They get that early KO, and Jonathan trying to get up close and box, but it feels like, Tony, that Vendetta has all of a sudden changed the way that this matchup is being played. It's being a lot more aggressive and rushed down towards getting into the face of Jonathan.
Oh, jeez, you see that string there, and this is why we don't play best of ones. I mean, you gotta give players some time to adapt, to really learn and feel out their opponent. And I've got to be honest, I feel like Vendetta has the schematic, the blueprint, totally planned out here because you can see only 29% sub 30 with 3 stocks left on Jonathan.
Trying to be like the Warriors at this point and get that 3-0 lead over Jonathan. And this is what you see from great players, DE. It's a matter of adapting to the matchup, not just sticking with what you always do, but really reading your opponent and adapting your game to that. We've seen that from Vendetta. Jonathan can have a lot of work to get back into this one, but you have to really admire the way that Vendetta changed the way that they're approaching this matchup.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, to do this too on Jonathan's counter pick as well, that says a lot about just kind of what he's picked up on habit-wise, right, of Jonathan. So I give Vendetta a lot of props right now. He is firmly in control, and oh my goodness, that Tatsu just linking up, able to kind of box his way out, but just alleviating this pressure has been the one thing Vendetta has not allowed to be the case. These hits just keep on coming, Jay. I don't know if there's any hope right now for this round.
You saw that Vendetta just chomping away at that shield like it was the last rib on the table, and all of a sudden Jonathan had no more block left, and now sitting at 137 on the final block, and there you go. Vendetta will go ahead and use their shield to pick their way to winner's final. What a turnaround, Tony, after that first round that we saw here with Vendetta.
Is that the first KO that wasn't a Shoryu? I think it might have been.
No, I was keeping an unofficial tally here, but my books, I think it was.
I think everything else was a Shoryu. Yeah, listen, I just think Vendetta hit his strings more. Every single string led to more and more hits. Was doing a much better job of fighting up close. You could just tell, especially from that last like 20 to 30 seconds. Good Lord, that string was inspired. You could see Vendetta gonna defeat Jonathan. Jonathan putting up a great fight, especially in that first game, but unfortunately gonna drop down to losers. Winner's final is locked in. Varghese versus Vendetta.
And when you look at this here, you wonder if Vendetta is going to be able to have the same success in getting up close and just applying that constant pressure against Varghese, or if Varghese will have a counter for that much more aggressive play style. And this is what you love when these tournaments start to continue to get to winners finals. You really want to see how both these fighters are going to adapt their play style here.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's a completely different world going into it, on the other side of the coin. For when you see how Varghese had to get here, right? Had to beat the Mega Man. Meanwhile, Vendetta, I already went through a Rob. I got another Rob in my path. At some point, it's going to feel like the same. But, it really kind of depends on, like, okay, do I want to elect to be more of a zoner type? Do I want to box you up close? I feel like last time he was dealing with Jonathan felt like a pretty aggressive type Rob, right? But I feel like Varghese might be a little better at kind of slowing it down and maybe making the pacing go his way. So that's the main thing Vendetta will have to overcome as we get into this winner's finals. It's going to be a good one.
Coney, how do you best handle a rush down aggressive play style if you are playing as a Rob?
Run away. That's really it. I mean, you just got to escape. You got to try to get to the other side of the stage. Honestly, what it comes down to is gyro usage, I think. It's gyro usage, down tilt as much as possible, because the down tilt is the main thing. The down tilt comes out so fast. It's so disruptive, especially if your opponent is trying to constantly aggress on you with things like your own down tilt. You see Vendetta kicking that foot out there, trying to catch him into a string. And this is why I think you could see Varghese doing such an excellent job just keeping distance, keeping Vendetta away. You could see the gyro into the rotor arm. Gorgeous play there. Takes the first stock.
About as efficient as you would like to see for a first stock. But I will say there's some similarities to how this kind of started out with the last time we saw Vendetta taking it on a Rob. And we know how that set ended up finishing off. But I mean, to his credit, man, Varghese always obviously coming out here letting you know, look, I'm a different kind of Rob, so you're going to have to respect that. Oh, he was too hot to handle. He was too to handle.
A little too pretty on that one.
Hey, and that happens sometimes, right? It certainly happens. And so what we saw there was a little bit more of a rush down coming in, of course, from Vendetta. But it really, to your point here, it felt like Jonathan was doing a much better job of just kind of keeping that distance and playing a more patient play style.
100%. I mean, he's just smothering him. You know what I mean? Like, he was just all over him. And I don't think Vendetta necessarily expected that right out the gate, right? Because you kind of expect, all right, well, he's going to kind of test me a little bit, be a little more up in my face, but not to that extent. I'm expecting I'm going to get some of the buttons I'm pressing to alleviate some pressure, going to do something. Now, that wasn't the case right there. That man did not have a chance. Hey, he might have kicked over his own switch. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just saying.
That's what I'm saying, bro. You rattle the table a little bit? You want to rattle the table? Maybe jiggle the land cable? Yeah. Oh, my dog hit it. Oh, no.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we get set for them to reset. These things happen in online tournaments, of course, and you just deal with it. But when you look at these players like Ken and fighters that really rely on combo-centric sets, you've got to string together things. You've got to read the percentage of your opponent to make sure that you're linking to the right move. It's a very technical game, but with that, Coney, it feels like you've got a plethora of offensive options that make it very difficult for your opponent to try and guess what's coming next.
Right. Yeah, Shoto characters or things like Ken, Ryu, Terry, even Kazuya to some extent, are sort of like what I like to call dark art characters, in that like you have to give them a large part of your time and your soul. It's not like you can secondary these characters to great effect, right? That's why you see so many players like Vendetta, like Icon, like Riddles, like Andres, who's over in Spain. There are so many Shoto players that really only play Shotos or other fighting game characters. And I think that's why, is because you have to have such a strong, rock solid, fundamental understanding of how these characters operate. It takes a lot of dedication and a lot of practice.
And obviously with that practice, you've got to know your matchups too. And it feels like what we saw from Vendetta, and we'll say it again, it was worth understanding. They sort of downloaded that information in that first loss, and then after that was able to really understand, hey, this is the difference that I need to play with against this Rob. I need to change plan A to plan B. And being able to not just understand your main EE, but understand the different play styles you can do with them goes a long ways towards being very successful with a fighter.
100%. That kind of goes back to my point when we were just kind of kicking off the broadcast about, despite shifting metas, sticking with that one character, right? That one main that's kind of brought you to the dance, because it allows you in a game with like over 80 characters, right? There's a lot of matchups you have to familiarize yourself with. So just having to only focus on, training that one character to kind of handle the whole board, handle the spread, it does come in handy a lot. And especially like even if you're playing a character and somebody has like a different play style to which you're accustomed to, it's like, okay, I know the basic blueprint of what this character does. How is my opponent applying it? How can I play around that, switch it up a little bit, and put them on their back foot? And that's the main thing I feel like helped Vendetta a lot with that last set we saw him in, and just how that one started out, what we just noticed, might have to kind of lean on that a little bit again.
And Coney, I'm curious, when you look at this entire roster, obviously there's been a terrific job done in the balancing. We've seen so many potential fighters win tournaments, but are there truly really bad matchups where you might need to go to a secondary regardless of how well you know your main? It just isn't going to work out that well against a certain opponent?
I wouldn't say that it's as bad as it could be. In fighting games, you're always going to have some nigh unwinnable matchups, right?
Nigh unwinnable.
Nigh unwinnable. Close, but not quite. I feel like when it comes to Ultimate, though, it's never quite as bad as it could be. I think some characters really struggle against others. So, like, Ken can have issues with characters that keep him zoned and at bay. And it looks like we're resetting the percents here in this next game.
And you love the sportsmanship here, EE. I'm waiting for one of these days when they get into this situation that someone just does an unwarranted back throw just to give themselves the advantage and not balance things up. But my bad. But here they go.
Put me in the game.
Set up here. And so, all right, we've got Vendetta and Vargus. Let's go ahead and rack this up again. 2 stocks to 3. Vargus with that difference that we're going to see in this raw playstyle. Maybe a little bit more patience, trying to play a little bit more of a zoner game and keep Vendetta with that Ken at bay, and that's what we're kind of seeing right now. EE just really being careful about them picking and choosing their spots to go in and combat hand to hand with Ken.
Absolutely. Seems like Vargus really just kind of picking up where he left off, just continuing again, as you said, kind of mixing between electing to be a little bit of a zoner and then just kind of press you a lot and come in, just kind of box you, show you like, look, I can kind of bully you around this stage. What are you going to do about it? Which is kind of the case right now. I can't believe.
Way.
Good Lord.
All that setup, too.
That's what I'm saying.
So now it's 2-2. Vargus still with the advantage, but Vendetta, as we've seen, doing a terrific job with that edge guarding. And here is Vargus, and this is what I love to see from Vargus here, Coney. It's the patience with the zoning, but then all of a sudden they'll step on the pedal and just ramp up the aggression and rush you down.
Really tries to catch you off guard, and that's the hallmark of a good Rob player. Like throwing out that rotor arm, I feel like there are moves that Rob can throw out in that kind of situation. Obviously, most famously is the down tilt, but sometimes you throw out the long option like a rotor arm, which could be massively punished if Vendetta just holds shield, but he does it because he's expecting something quick. You can see that kick there, 159 on Vendetta. Now he might be the one who wants to sit back a little bit and try to find his opportunity, because Vargus could probably knock him out with an up throw here.
Gotta be very careful, but there comes that Shoryuken. Still not quite enough, but that is the patented KO move for Vendetta, and now we see Vendetta being rewarded for some of that patience and precise blocking, but this might be it right there. Yep, down throw will take that stock, EE.
I gotta give an assist to the platform there too, just to make sure we're gonna take that out, but just like like that. Vendetta striking back immediately. Tight Shoryuken to get himself on even footing for this last game. And again, a considerable percent he was down and trailing in these first couple of stocks. He has mounted this comeback and now may be in a position to actually get the first game.
Vendetta storming right back, building a slight lead on this final stock. And really, I go back to just the stage control that we're starting to see here in the second half of this matchup, Coney. It really seems like Vendetta doing an excellent job of just keeping Vargus in a recovery situation.
Absolutely, yeah. Vargus having trouble knowing what to do here. Oh my goodness, Vendetta following the Tatsu into the aerial.
From the platform.
Got him on the platform with the Shoryu. Wonderfully done by Vendetta. I just can't get over the double Tatsu into the jump on that kick. That was masterful.
And that's what we're really seeing from these high-level players here, EE, is when you get a chance to understand such a technical character like Ken, some of the stuff you see is stuff that we probably have never seen before at times, and being able to throw that out in that importance of a setting, very impressive stuff from Vendetta.
When it's clutch time, great players show up, and Vendetta is a great player. What a conversion. Just the ability to just kind of strike out of nowhere, and I think that's what a lot of the Shotos really enable these players to do, right? Just kind of strike out of nowhere, even with those counter hits, the setups, the follow-throughs, it all just kind of works out nicely for them when the opportunities do present themselves, and credits to Vendetta not letting that opportunity escape him, earn that game one, and we're off to the second one.
Here it is, Vargus getting the early advantage over Vendetta at this point, and then all of a sudden you see Vendetta trying to chase them down, and already it's Vendetta and Vargus playing a very aggressive game here early, Coney.
You can see Vendetta reeling a bit, but all it takes is, it just takes a couple hits. And you see Vargus push to the ledge again, just kind of stuck there, forced to shield. There's another Tatsu. Ken is just doing tricks and spins and just, I don't know, he stays in the air that long. He's magical. But what I keep thinking about is Vendetta, remember in that last set, he was so adaptive and the way that he was able to overtake Joshathan in game 3. I just see a dude that's able to adapt to any situation.
The one stock advantage for Vendetta at this point. Vargus trying to get back into this one, and it's really just been the patience and the ability of Vendetta to find those openings and string together those combos here, EE.
100%, man. It's kind of like the shoes on the other foot from what we saw in the first game. So Vendetta, we'll see how much extra percent he can really tack on. Seems like quite a bit already over the 50 mark. Almost hit him with that Shoryuken. He's really fishing for these big hits. Then kind of put himself in a similar situation that we saw against Joshathan in his kind of route to get to this point, and it's going to be a very, very long game for Vargus, who's finding himself struggling. Great focus attack too, to kind of ward off that threat. Yep.
And there is that good old patented down throw. You can always rely on that, Coney, and Vargus is finally taking the first stock from Vendetta.
Yeah, I mean, again, we said this before, but having, oh wow, at the way he just got all the way around on that, just kind of snuck up behind him. But no, it's such a huge boon to have a character with a KO throw, because it's not as common as you might think. A lot of characters have throws that can KO, you know, if we're talking like 160, 170. But Rob really does have a dedicated throw that can KO, and one that can even get earlier if you get the 50-50 coin flip mix-up.
Well, as you know, you need a K and an O to spell Shoryuken, and once again, we see it coming out, EE, and at this point, you've got to play wise if you're Vendetta. You can't let this stock get away from you. You've got a sizable lead, but here it is, Vargus just piling on the damage, ready to make this a very close stock here.
And you'll recall, man, this is not unfamiliar territory for him. He's known for making those massive comebacks, and ask Mega Hog X about that, but maybe Vendetta saying, I'm not trying to end up in that kind of category. I want to wrap this thing up with a nice clean 2-0. Back and forth they go. Love the momentum shift that we're seeing in this. The pressure really just swinging to either side of the pendulum. Gyro in hand, trying to keep him trapped, but just fighting his way through. I like the aggressive option to get back to the stage.
So here it is. Vargus has already made this game, about to take the lead, and yes, Vargus does on this final stock, trying to push it to a game 3, but here comes Vendetta. A couple of jabs followed by the Shoryuken. Is that it? Ooh. Yes, it is. Vendetta closing it out with the patented Shoryuken, and Coney, you love that final sequence from Vendetta, just to string together all those combos when they needed it the most.
Yeah, I love to see Vendetta pulling the trigger at the right moment to get that KO against against Rob. But there at the end, Vangoose, it was so bizarre because it looked like he had the right idea. They were in the right spot, and they went for that forward tilt. Have to wonder if they were just mere pixels off, mere frames off from getting a punish, because right there is when Vangoose's his goose was cooked. Or Vargoose, sorry. Vargoose's goose was cooked because Vendetta just kind of ran him over with the Tatsu over and over, all the way to the edge, and got the Shoryu for free.
So Vendetta, our first grand prize winner. We'll look for a second one that'll have to navigate their way through the loser side of the bracket, and that's going to be Mega Hog X versus Joshathan for the rights to battle Vargoose for that other grand prize winner slot. And so we're going to have a Mega Man versus Rob once again. Mega Hog X, like you've said, EE, in similar fashion to Vendetta, has experience playing against a Rob already. Do you see any potential changes in the play style for Mega Hog X this time around against a different Rob player?
I mean, I just feel bad for Mega Hog X. This man can't escape Rob. If you want to win anything, you got to go through Rob. He's the Rob again. Like, you can't get away.
It's a nightmare bracket.
It's crazy, man. You know, you're going to be having nightmares about that tonight. But no, the main thing for him, I think maybe see if you can almost outzone Rob, because Mega Man, like, that's what he heavily relies on. I say he's got some good weight. He can absolutely string together some combos himself. I love when they do the little cute tricks off the Metal Blade. So really, I mean, that's what you're trying to do. It's going to come down to, you know, in my opinion, again, like against Rob, it's always about the patience. But if you can kind of keep him out a little bit, frustrate him rather than the other way around, I'll give yourself a shot. You know, at this point, you know the gauntlet you're about to go through, so this is a heck of a time to learn a matchup.
Yeah, you get a chance to sit there, Coney, and think about your life for a second and things that you want to retool as you get set to face Rob. And it really felt like with Mega Hog X, you were getting a lot of those solo hits, but where was the follow-up, right? And you've got to get so many solo hits to connect before you even get Rob into KO range. So you wonder if they're going to think about the way they go about some more of these combos here.
Yeah, when it comes to Mega Man, it's weird because I feel like when I look at Rob, and especially Ken, there are so many follow-ups that have different trees. I mean, Rob's can you can identify a Rob player by the types of options that they go for, because he's a very versatile character. There's one Rob player that's, sort of famous for going for back airs and side Bs, and we see a lot of that. But some Robs would rather just kind of sit back and go for projectiles and throw stuff from a distance. Mega Man has to play a lot more in the neutral game, which of course leaves a lot more open for mistakes or maybe just not the conversions that you would expect. So you'll see a lot of like errant 20, 30 hits, but not anything crazy. So we'll see how Mega Hog X is able to try to convert into more damage as much as possible.
So far, it's Joshathan just chasing down Mega Hog X, trying to chip away at that shield. No luck. Mega Hog X getting knocked up to that platform. The grab and the throw followed up by Joshathan, and already the early advantage. And a bit of a more aggressive Rob that we see from Joshathan, and paying off so far, EE.
Yeah, that's one thing about Joshathan. Like, if there's an opportunity to swing, if there's an opportunity to attack, he's not going to let it go to waste. Really like the fact that this guy likes to kind of rush down his opponents when that opportunity does present itself. You got to give Mega Hog X, though, his credit. I think he's doing a good job hanging in there, trying to stave off this attack. Not quite staying grounded, but Joshathan just backing off a little bit, understanding, okay, if he's going to kind of throw these projectiles at me, overwhelm me a little bit, let me back off, reset the situation, and try and make some clean adjustments. Trying to get in there, but man, the back and forth just continues.
Metal Blade out there, and as EE said, likes to see a lot of the cute things you can do with the Metal Blade. Oh, almost completes that down throw opportunity, but Mega Hog X able to get out of that. And so far right now, it feels like Mega Hog X here, Coney, well, you lost its stock, but I was going to say, you did a much better job of keeping Joshathan on their heel.
Yeah, generally. I think the issue is what we were talking about in the last set, where we saw Mega Hog X against Vargoose, where it's just like, it is so difficult to actually get that KO. You can jump around them. I mean, Mega Hog X just lost his stock because they tried to land into Rob with back air, trying to force the issue as much as possible. But unfortunately, Joshathan just waited for it and got the up smash. We're seeing Mega Hog X just really struggle to get that KO on Rob, and who can blame him?
Mega Hog X trying to get back on the stage. It's Joshathan that is just putting together a masterful first stock. Still sitting there with 3 Robs to go here, and As it connect with that gyro off the stage, Mega Hog X can't recover, and 3-1 just like that, EE.
Hey, you can't win every boss battle. That's what Mega Man's learning the hard way in this one, to say the least. And one thing that really impressed me about Jonathan, his ability to just kind of go up close and then disengage and kind of bait you into picking an option to swing and punish you for that has been immaculate. Like, that has really what has set the tone and been the difference maker. Especially, you know, as you see a potential 3-stock looming. Not going to be the case, though. That forward air going to seal off that one. But, man, there's a lot of work to do for Mega Hog X.
Mega Hog X got to get back into this one. Meanwhile, Joshua putting on a clinic, and Coney, Dr. Wily might need to add Robman to the roster at this point.
Yeah, this might be the one robot that Mega Man can't defeat. I mean, all those games, and he hasn't fought an opponent like this, I guess. But Rob is he's just sort of a cut above in a lot of aspects. You could see, like we were talking about, his versatility, his ability to do basically anything. There's that 50-50, opts for the up tilt, but because Kalos is so large, Mega Hog X is able to survive. But for how long? 156 rotor arm. That's going to take game one.
And a quick game one it is, coming out from Rob. So very impressive right there. And that's the thing, Joshua with that much more aggressive play style, EE didn't really give Mega Hog X much room to breathe to get into a zoning game, because they were trying to just evade Joshua the majority of the time.
Yeah, it was kind of wild, right? You think about the fact, just even on stage, like, just pressure, so much pressure. Like, even when you put some space between him, he's got the gyro, he's got the laser to kind of, you know, give himself some openness to get back in there and continue that pressure. And then when you get off the stage as well, you're just getting taxed. Whether or not you lose the stock is irrelevant, because you're getting taxed in so much percent that when you do get back on, it's just almost certain defeat the way Jonathan was approaching that one. So very solid first game.
We'll tee things up and get set for the second hit here, and this time it's going to be obviously a much smaller stage here, Coney. And do you think this plays into the hands of Joshua or Mega Hog X?
Honestly, Joshua. I mean, I could see what the idea here is. It's a little bit more up close, but I feel like Joshua is just getting the better of Mega Hog X consistently, even off stage like that.
That's a quick one.
Yeah, it's done. Didn't even take a hit on the first stock.
So a flawless first stock so far for Joshua. Joshua just dancing circled around Mega Hog X at this point, and really it's just the mix-ups, it feels like. It's the zoning pressure, it's the gyro coming out, and then all of a sudden, if Mega Hog X misses an opportunity or is dealing with a little bit of buffer, you've got Joshua that just chases them down and starts racking up the damage.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm sounding like a broken record, but like I said, just overwhelming pressure is basically all we're seeing put on Joshua, just kind of a different beast thus far. That Mega Hog X just really no answers to, and credit to him, he's done a fantastic job to get to this point, but running into a brick wall in the form of Joshua that is really just refusing to crumble. And I think this 3-stock might just be the nightmare reality coming true for our man Mega Hog X, barring a miracle comeback.
Joshua really trying to get to that loser's final here. It's just been so impressive against Mega Hog X, and it doesn't matter what stage, it just feels like, again, just the reads that we're seeing. Coney, that was line for line, word for word textbook by Joshua, just closing that thing out. What an impressive display of just the different types of ways that Rob can consistently apply pressure.
There was just no way out of that. I mean, you could see that Joshua had everything scouted. Got the jump, waited for Mega Man to pop the up B and hit the laser on that, just disrupted out of that. Got the rotor arm because he knew that he wouldn't be able to up B toward the ledge, because if he goes a little bit too low, he has to up B and then air dodge. So instead, Joshua plans it a little bit earlier, gets it with the rotor arm to hit it back out, and then sets himself up for the back air after that. Just a masterclass in Rob's offstage oppression. Well done by Joshua. That was just textbook.
So that brings us to the losers final for regions 5 through 8. The winner of this will be our second grand prize winner. That'll win that prize pack we mentioned at the top that includes 10,000 My Nintendo Gold points. But now we have this Rob on Rob action here, EE. And if you look at Vargus, you look at Joshua, difference in play styles, but when you have these mirror matches, it's always interesting to see the different ways they approach one another when they have the same tools at their disposal. It's basically like the way that your mom might make chocolate chip cookies versus your grandma. Maybe not that exact
You're not
way.
putting me in that situation. I don't know
You
who's
gotta make
watching
a
right
choice
now.
right now. I know they're watching.
Say that right now, but no, you make a great point. I mean, this, it's not even character to character in this one; it's player to player, right? Like who is kind of going to set the tone early. I know for a fact we know Jonathan, right? He is going to be 100% hands down more of the aggressor. So if you're Vargas, you're kind of thinking like, okay, like maybe that can play into my hands, right? Like I know what this character is capable of. I know the moveset perfectly. What do I have to kind of like do my countermeasures and kind of like neutralize what he's trying to do? Because I think that's really where Jonathan excels, is just his ability to just kind of overwhelm you so well. Obviously Rob, incredible tool set, can recover really well. But look, you put two great Robs against each other, only one can come out on top. It's anybody's game at the start of it.
Yeah, and what we saw, Coney, with Vendetta is that rush down approach did work very well against Vargas, and so you wonder if the more aggressive rush down play style that we've seen from Jonathan might be what comes out on top. But listen, this is anybody's game for the most part. This is two players that are very, very, very consistent with their fighters, that know them top to bottom. And so now, how do you find your openings? How do you adapt throughout this? This is why we love these mirror matches sometimes.
Absolutely, yeah. I think what it's going to come down to is I do think that Vargas has the advantage in the long game. I think Vargas is a little bit more consistent from what we've seen. Can play that distance game a little bit better, but I do think that Jonathan, once they get in, just looks so much stronger. I think Jonathan has these moments of brilliance that Vargas might have difficulty keeping up with, but Vargas will, under normal circumstances, I think have the advantage. But of course, it's Rob. Rob can do anything, and there's still so many tricks up these guys' sleeve that we haven't seen yet, so hopefully we'll be able to see it in this set.
So Jonathan will be your Rob that's got more of a pink hue to it, and Vargas will be your Rob that's got a little bit more teal to the game, if I'm calling that correctly here, EE. And right now, we see just the aggressive rushdown style for Jonathan being rewarded with this huge lead on the first stock.
I was going to say the easier way to identify him is by that percent, right? Look at how much you see just being accumulated. I mean, this is just an ambush right now. That person barely made it past 30 seconds. Woo.
Jonathan coming out with both robot arms swinging here and applying some early pressure on Vargas. And now for your Vargas, you got to sort of collect yourself at this point, Coney, because you just got smacked in the robotic face to start this thing out.
Oh, and not again. Oh, Jonathan runs him down again with the rodent. Listen, I didn't think it would go like this. We knew that Jonathan had some offense. I mean, you talked about it, Jordan. The aggression is there, but I thought that Vargas might have, a sort of a stronger defensive wall. I think that's going to be the main thing he's going to have to adapt to, is just overcoming Jonathan's offense. This is crazy.
I'm curious, what is Jonathan mad about? He is taking it out on Vargas at this point, just relentless at this point, and really just following up. It feels like Vargas can't even catch their breath, and finally getting a chance, but can't convert. And Jonathan just seems to be so much more active and mobile as well, too, as they trade robo beams to the eyes.
Seems personal. Like, did he take his color? I'm not really, you know what I mean? I'm not really sure what sparked this aggression, but my goodness, you can tell somebody is hungry to definitely get the grand prize in here. Not mad at that. Jonathan has been an absolute terror. Pure Vargas right now, the real victory is just getting the first stock. And unfortunately, my friend, you have been denied. What a first game.
Jonathan straight out the blocks and a dominant performance over Vargas in the battle of the Robs. And listen, I'm not going to jump to conclusions here, Coney, but it feels like that rushdown style might just be a teensy-weensy bit more effective in this matchup.
Hey, in this matchup, perhaps. I mean, I've seen some players bang their head on the brick wall and have a hard time getting in, but it seems like Jonathan is just barreling through it without a second thought. I think it really comes down to the stage. Battlefield did offer Jonathan a lot of opportunity to just run up against Vargas. We'll see how the stage changes that. I could see something like an FD or a Kalos being a little bit more tough for him, but honestly, I mean, that's just raw talent. I would be surprised to see him sweeping it 2-0 very quickly.
And it feels like Vargas just needs a little bit more space. I mean, didn't really feel comfortable. It's like you and me riding shotgun in a Mini Cooper. I mean, we just didn't really feel great at that point. A little bit more space for Vargas feels like they could really benefit from just getting some distance from Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, right, that's kind of where you want to go. But the problem is, honestly, you can't really game plan for what we just saw in game number one. Like, that was, as Coney said, like, that was just kind of straight skill-based, right? Like, you just feel like Jonathan just kind of has him on the game plan. Now, to his credit, though, I do like this from Vargoose, obviously battling back, not willing to go quietly into the night, so this game number 2 could shape up to be a much closer one. Definitely can see that first stock being threatened a lot more securely than what we saw in the opener.
So a very back and forth first stock, and there's the follow-up, and Vargoose able to take the first stock, and just one of the most satisfying confirms in all of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, isn't it, Cody?
Oh, no question, yeah, especially when they air dodge, because they did the correct thing. You can see Jonathan actually got the air dodge through all of them, but still got hit by the final hit there. Well done to Vargoose, timing that expertly. Vargoose now with the stage control, and you can see Jonathan with a lot of trouble getting back on here between the gyro, between the aerials, between the tilts. Finally gonna throw out that forward air, but yeah, Vargoose is just totally taking control here on small battlefield.
And here's Vargoose trying to get ahead on the to-do list by building a percentage. It's going to be Vargoose that's flirting with a possible 3-0. And I don't know what changed here. It really seems like Vargoose has just been so much more technical this time around against Jonathan. And there it is. How Vargoose, hold up a second. He said, don't count me out quite yet. We now have a game 3.
You know what changed? You want to know what changed?
What changed?
He said, if it works for you, it can work for me too. I'm throwing some hands back at you, man. Right out the gate, he just started swinging. When you can you got the same character, you can technically do the exact same thing. And he woke up and realized that let me stop playing with my toes and put these hands up and show you what I can do. And that was the difference maker right there. Give me this game 3.
Let's get set for a third round of robotic fisticuffs here, Coney. And this is what you love to see when people understand, listen, I got to change my play style. You love the humility in that, right? You're not just trying to fit a square peg into a round hole over and over and over again. You can adapt yourself. So now here we go. Game 3 for that second and final grand prize slot is going to be Vargoose or Jonathan. Let's head to Pokemon Stadium 2 to find out.
Yeah, the thing that's really going to benefit Vargoose here is if it did come down to the stage, this is much more similar to Small Battlefield, which we just saw. It's a little bit bigger, but what's fascinating to me is in that last match and in the last 2, you've seen them both dominate their respective games, but also in different ways. I feel like Vargoose is much more setup heavy, relies a lot more on the gyro and the laser play and a lot more grabs. Meanwhile, Jonathan is just the king of offstage in the aerials, is doing an excellent job of just putting Vargoose in a bad spot.
And Vargoose not trying to give Jonathan any room to feel comfortable. Just the consistent pressure here, EE. You pointed it out perfectly. Changing that play style from a zoner to getting right up close and already building this huge percent lead. Here comes the possible confirm. Tries to get it, and there it is, EE.
Execution on point for Vargoose. I mean, the player we're seeing right now just seemingly night and day from that game number 1, which just seems so long ago after what we've seen in game number 2 and the first stock of this one. I got to give Vargoose a lot of credit, just not folding, not succumbing to the pressure. In fact, taking it and using it to his advantage right now, as Jonathan is the one just searching for answers and unable to find any right now as this domination from Vargoose just rolls on.
And Vargoose just turning Jonathan into a sandbag here so far, just building up a huge advantage on this first stock still. But it just feels like Jonathan just can't get any momentum going here, Coney.
Yeah, just it doesn't feel like the hits are rolling quite as much. You guys mentioned it. It felt like Jonathan was a player who really went on runs, who got a lot of momentum, but it seems like every single time he starts to hit the gas, Vargoose just sort of stunts him a little bit, throws up the roadblock, and doesn't let him get anything going. Maybe this will be the start of it if he can land the up air, but even there, Vargoose is able to wiggle out.
And you said it was execution. We've seen Vargoose turn that down throw into a KO. Jonathan just had 2 chances there, and one that's unable to convert, finally able to get it, but it just feels like the execution of Vargoose just a little bit more precise than Jonathan.
And I would say just the pressure too, right? I think it's really starting to mount here on Jonathan. I think he thought he had everything wrapped up in game number 1, and then you just see how the tides have shifted, and he just has not been able to respond like we saw Vargoose. You know, this is the same player that we saw in game number 2, really en route to getting this 2-stock rather low percent. If things continue like this, just an errant rotor arm going to be costly as Vargoose comes in with one of his own to seal that one away. Beautifully done.
curtain. Vargoose going on a 2-0 run to take losers finals and to claim that second grand prize. So congratulations to Vargoose and Vendetta for getting those 2 grand prize slots. And what we saw with both of these, Coney, was with Vendetta after that first L, changed the way that they were playing, going to be much more aggressive. With Vargoose, took that first L, changed the way that they were playing, and you just really admire that adaptability.
It's all about adaptation, exactly. It feels like over and over consistently we saw players who kind of got blown up in the first game, and then they sort of recalibrated, readjusted their game plan. Vendetta, Vargoose, just very well executed, very well deserved, of course. Congratulations to them as our grand prize winners. I mean, and with 2 very different characters, it was a lot of fun to watch.
That's a wrap on Regions 5 through 8. Congratulations again to Vargoose and Vendetta, but don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick little break. More Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. When we come back, we'll bring you Regions 1 through 4 of the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate North American Open, April 2022, when we return after a quick little break.
There you are! You monsters!
Cut it out! We're your friends here! Did they order you to destroy Ouroboros too?
The world, our enemy.
Even though we're being chased by both nations at once.
There's a reason we met. There has to be.
That's why!
Let's go! Come here! I got something for you! What is that thing?
You've got a real death wish.
Now, kids, you share a common destiny.
I felt her thoughts. There were so many. And then they were a part of me.
How are you inside me?
Hold on.
Are we?
There's sparks in me yet!
Hang in there! You're again!
Come here! Noah!
Mimi!
Let's get stuck in!
Yeah, will do!
So you can take that form via a strong desire or emotion.
Way out of your league!
Henceforth, all orders are rescinded. Eliminate Ouroboros at all costs.
That is my revenge. It's payback for Nimue dying with her wish unfulfilled.
It's a wild ride, this passage of fate. We got ourselves a nice little awakening.
What? Why is my name on here?
My way demands we fight. Come then, and test your mettle against my lance.
Nanana, help with fighting!
I've never used this kind of blade before. But all the techniques I can use with it are flashing before my eyes.
Bring it home! Finish!
The only thing that can change all this is the will of Ouroboros. You kids, and you alone.
Not that I have all that much time to spare, but soon.
Finding a path that lets us all live. I will make that my mission.
It's a new iteration of the Wii Sports series. Nintendo Switch Sports. Let's begin with these 3 sports. You might recognize them from past Wii Sports games. Tennis. Rally by gently swinging the Joy-Con controller at the right time. Bowling. Roll the ball straight ahead or give it a little curve. And Chambara. Knock your opponent off the platform while attacking and defending. Plus, 3 additional sports are joining the lineup. Soccer. Use a gigantic ball to make dynamic plays. Enjoy matches with Joy-Con controllers to shoot and perform diving headers. By attaching a Joy-Con controller to the leg strap accessory included with the physical version of the game, you can play shootout mode with intuitive kicking motions. Badminton. Control your shots left and right while keeping the shuttlecock in the air. Unleash powerful smash shots to gain the upper hand. Finally, volleyball. Use a Joy-Con controller to serve, bump, set, and spike the ball. The game supports local play with family and friends on one Nintendo Switch system, as well as online play across all sports. Play against friends online, or opt for random matchmaking. The more you win, the tougher the players you'll face. Try taking on this challenge. The Nintendo Switch sports game launches April 29th. A free update is scheduled for this summer that lets you play soccer matches with the Joy-Con controller and the leg strap accessory. You can use the accessory to play shootout mode at launch. In addition, a second free update that lets you enjoy golf will launch this fall.
And welcome back to the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate North American Open, April 2022. And you look at what we have going on here with regions 1 through 4. Jordan Kent here, joined by Coney and EE. And guys, we just had a lot of fun going through regions 5 through 8. And it feels like what we really saw in those regions, the thing that really stood out was the adaptability from our winners, that were able to access and think about that information they got in the first matchup and then apply it and change their play style. And it feels like here, Coney, that's really going to be the key, because you don't know who you're going against, you don't know how they're going to play against you, and you've got to be able to think on your toes and adapt to that.
No question. It might be the most important skill you can learn in Ultimate, is that level of adaptability. Just because with over 80 characters in the game, there is no shot on the planet that you have experience with each and every one of them. Even if you're playing all of your friends nearby, even if you're traveling constantly, you're always going to be surprised by something that you probably haven't played before, unless you're just encyclopedic with your knowledge. So it really comes down to how well you're able to adapt to the opponent, to the stage that you're playing on. That's a big deal. And learning how to use your character's tools against them in the best way possible. It's not easy. It's a challenging task.
Let's go ahead and check out the bracket and see who will be facing off against each other today. We've got Pokelam, Manny, Fletchling, and Shu facing off. We'll have 2 grand prize winners. This is best of 3 in each match, double elimination. And let's just rip through these grand prize awards here pretty quickly. You've got a gaming chair, Nintendo versus North American Open 2022 trophy, 10,000 My Nintendo Gold points, a gaming headset, a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate jacket, a backpack, and a Nintendo Switch carrying case. And EE, we saw a lot of rushdown adaptability in the previous matchups in regions 5 through 8, and I thought Coney said something interesting. You see some people sometimes bang their head against the wall when they're trying to play that rushdown style. What do you have to be careful about if you're going to be very aggressive and try to box close for the majority of these matchups?
Well, I would say the main thing is you got to be comfortable in the matchup, period, right? Like, there's so many different characters, and which requires, such a different kind of tact when you're approaching, different ones individually. You can't really approach, Olimar the same way you're going to approach, like, maybe Bayonetta, right? So you got to have to have a style maybe kind of tailored to that character. As Coney said, though, there's so many characters in the game, it's really hard to. So one of the best things you can do is kind of feel out your opponent on that first stock and just kind of like go from there, right? Because a lot of times you're playing the character and the player too. So it can definitely be a little bit, tricky, but, depending on who you're piloting as well, that can determine like what you want to do as far as your approach goes. I'm very interested to see who these guys are playing, because that'll help us kind of get a better understanding of what we're going to see throughout this bracket, but I'm expecting nothing but fireworks.
Yeah, certainly helps. Hard to guess with this entire roster, right? Who they're going to go with. But Conan, what we saw in a Rob Mirror match in regions 5 through 8 is that sometimes execution plays a huge role. We saw a couple of down throws that were converted to KOs by one fighter, and then the other whiffed on a couple of those. And so, yes, you can look at matchups, you can look at play styles, but at the end of the day, you got to make sure when you press right, you go right. When you press A, you press A, and everything together to make sure you execute in those margins of time that you have that are razor thin.
Absolutely, and sometimes the hands are working faster than the brain. Sometimes you're just mashing buttons hoping to hit the opponent. Sometimes it's the opposite, and you're thinking a little bit too much in your own head, not throwing out hits when you're able to get them. Maybe don't have your timings right because you're thinking, oh, what if he wiggles out of this? And maybe going a little bit too far. It's a very delicate balance in between having the confidence to know what you can follow up on and what you can go for, but also having the discipline to not always pull the trigger, to not always go for the same thing because the opponent might expect it. And sometimes if you go for a guaranteed follow-up, but you kind of hold back and the opponent goes for an air dodge or something, you can get an even bigger punish if you're able to catch that. And oh boy, this is going to be fun.
Well, bit of a mirror match that we have right here. You got two representatives from Minecraft here, and right now they're just going to be busy at the mining table. And all right, here we go. And EE, your thoughts on kind of this simultaneous start? Is almost an agreement to say, hey, we're going to build up and get our resources as much as we can.
Well, I mean, you know, sometimes it just comes down to, do I have that level of respect for a fellow Steve player? I guess that is the case right now. Easy to see right now that, oh my goodness, is that oh Lord?
That's a quick stock right there.
I mean, sometimes I like them to at least let me finish the sentence before they just go ahead and just go off like that. But Lord have mercy, it feels like we're still at the loading screen the way this was going.
And this really feels like a matchup in which you're taking careful account of your resources here, Coney, but also you're just trying to disrupt rhythm and flow, and you're going to really dictate stage control with everything that you have at your tools. And then, yes, that minecart can come out quickly for a very quick KO, but already Whisper just with a dominant performance, just 18% so far in a 3-1 stock lead.
Yeesh. I don't know what Manny did to prepare for this match, but clearly came out swinging on this. Only 31% with 3 stocks left. You were talking about flow, but Pokelam has found none of it, unfortunately. Just consistently getting battered off on the stage. We might not even see 50%. We're setting up that wall with the anvil off the bounce in the block. Manny destroys Pokelam stock.
And just unbelievable how quick that went. I mean, I hope you didn't blink or fill up your water bottle or anything like that, because that was over in just about a minute, it felt like. And that's what happens. I mean, we mentioned the difference in 2 people playing as the same character. What happens? Well, if you know everything that you can do down to a T and you can execute it, you can quickly dispatch somebody that might feel like they can even belong in the same ring as you.
If I'm Pokelam, I'm thinking to myself, okay, Vargoose faced this same situation in the last bracket that we saw. 3 stock didn't look close, but guess who went on to win? So down, but not out. Hope is still available. You got to look real deep in that tunnel to find the light, but there's still a chance. There's still a chance. That's the best positivity I can say after we just
slim one.
I was going to say, Coney, I don't know if there's a whole lot you can take away from that as far as what needs to change, but here we go. We'll see. It's been done before, as you mentioned. We saw it from Vargoose in the 5-8 losers final. They were down 3-0 and took that L in the very first round, but then after that, bounced back. But we'll see if Pokelam can change things up at all.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Steve is already kind of a rare bird. So when it comes to 2 Steves, especially like Alex and Enderman up against each other, I mean, in the mirror match, like you were talking about before, it's so difficult to know how to adjust your playstyle and what you should be doing better because the opponent has the exact same tools as you. And I don't know what you could really stand to gain from that last match because it just looked like a total blowout.
We see Manny right here doing an excellent job with the edge guarding and the TNT. Just the MVP so far of this stock, EE. This is developing into a theme, yeah. And we see Manny just in full control at this point here, Coney, and this just goes to show you sometimes when you get these rare bird fighters, as you said before, that you don't see a ton of in high-level competitive play, it can be pretty tricky to deal with someone that is so adept with them because you just haven't seen some of the stuff you've dealt with before. But in this situation where it's a mirror match, it is very perplexing.
Well, especially with how, oh dear.
Yep,
okay,
yep,
so
that does it. 2-0, Manny.
Yeah,
that is a quick one.
Oh dear.
Well, Alex just dominant right there with Manny. So 2-0 just like that. And it really didn't even seem like it was close at any point there, EE. I mean, you have to call it what it is. There was at no time that PokeLam felt comfortable there. And, you know, credit Manny because that was just a dominant top to bottom performance where you had stage control, you were edge guarding, you were doing everything that you could do to never let PokeLam feel comfortable.
Yeah, it was one-sided, and that's putting it nicely. Okay, and it sometimes it does shake down like that, guys. We understand it takes a lot of talent to make it this far in the bracket to be able to play on stream for some of these awesome prizes that we have lined up. But you know, eventually you will run into somebody like of your skill class, or maybe somebody who just outclasses you, and that was the case for PokeLand. We will see them get an opportunity to compete a little bit later. But yeah, man, he was just an unstoppable beast in that one. Got to give credit and tip my hat. Clean to it.
I'm with you, EE. I mean, for as good as Charles Barkley was, he ran into Michael Jordan, right? So there's just not a whole lot you can do. But here we go. We have Fletching versus Shu. We'll figure out who they're fighting as here in just a second. But you know, it's always fascinating to me that when you get to these high levels here, Coney, that there's just even more layers to peel in the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate onion of just really mastering whoever you main and just really squeezing every single ounce of potential out of that fighter to make them into something terrifying. And we saw that from Manny.
Yeah, I really loved their use of the blocks there. We saw it at the very end, using the blocks to try to set up the edge guard to stop PokeLane from actually grabbing the ledge. I thought that was the end of the interaction. It's like, okay, well, they tried to block the ledge. They didn't get it, whatever. But no, there was a more sinister plan afoot where they dropped the anvil, they got rid of the block, the anvil hits them, and then they do a little bit of pinball off on the top. So there are all kinds of interactions and just so many different things that are going on in any given game of Smash Ultimate. Like you said, just the layers at play are astronomical.
Well, it's those fighters, EE, when you look at Steve, you look at Pac-Man, Duck Hunt, that just have such a quirky play style compared to everybody else. I mean, it's not like a sword class fighter where there's 15 of them potentially. It's just they have this one unique mechanic, and if they have that narrowed down and you haven't maybe dealt with that a whole lot, it can be over that quick. And that's what I think gives this game just incredible depth.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you anymore. And you know, one of the things that's the catalyst to that is the fact that we do have DLC for this game, because it kind of gives you a lot of new fighters, but a lot of new play styles come out with that as well. Like, what character can you think that even remotely mimics what Steve is capable of doing? None. Like, that is just totally individual to, you know, that character. And I think for me, like, Steve can be really frustrating to deal with, but you would think, like, as another Steve, you're like, okay, I kind of know what to expect. You had no idea what was coming for you. That right there, that should put the fear in you. And I think, honestly, it just builds up the hype and kind of intensifies what we want to see out of this winners finals that we will inevitably get to.
Yeah, and that's what I keep scratching my head with here, Coney. It's one thing if you were playing with someone that wasn't Steve and Steve did this to you, but when you main that person, that was what was surprising to me. But it goes to show you that even within an individual fighter, there's so many different trees that you can go down. You used that term in our last matchup here, that you can look at the different options you can go to after you land a hit, and it just shows you that there's so much to every single fighter that makes it so fun to really master these fighters.
Especially, I mean, with the last bracket that we saw with Vargoose and Joshathan, you could really tell how different their play styles were, and the options that they chose to go for, the situations they felt most comfortable in. And I think, especially with a character as deep and complex as Steve, you can absolutely see moments where one player just kind of runs over the other just based on knowledge alone. But it looks like we've got two totally new fighters coming up. It's Shu against Fletch.
And Fletchling with Robin, Shu with Zero Suit Samus, and this is an interesting matchup here, EE, because you do have two different play styles, and Robin, again, with one of those unique mechanics that you really don't see with a lot of other fighters. Where do you see, let's start with Fletchling and Robin, what do you have to do to make sure that you're handling the rush-down aggression that we most typically see from Zero Suit Samus players?
Ooh, that's the answer.
As well. I think that's exactly what Fletchling is accustomed to, and right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, Coney, it feels like Fletchling's doing a really nice job of just countering a lot of the approaches, except for that right there coming out from Shu. But so far from Fletchling, a very impressive first stock to build up that amount of percent on the second stock for Shu.
It really all started with that forward air. That was just such a gutsy forward air on the right side to attack Shu as he was coming down, and you could see just wasn't able to make it back to the stage off of the boost kick, and now you can see Fletchling running away with it, has the sword in his hand. 103% on Shu. Has to be careful, of course, because we know that Robin, despite being a little bit slow, a little bit less in terms of mobility, does have some insane KO potential if they're able to get their hands on you.
And Fletchling right now trying to go air to air, and how about that spike, EE, and all of a sudden Shu changing the entire momentum of this match. Beautiful counter by Fletchling to really even this thing up. You felt like Shu was starting to run away from this Hirokoni, and right now we're seeing a lot of full hops coming in from Shu and really utilizing that quick aerial mobility, and obviously Fletchling can't match that with Robin, but really the range that Fletchling might have at times might be their best advantage at this point.
The issue that you're seeing is that it feels like Shu usually wins air-to-air, or at least Zero Suit does. It feels like she can get hits out quicker, has better frame data in terms of her hits. But Fletchling, if they're able to throw out the aerial in sort of an anticipatory manner, you can see the way that they're sort of backing up, the retreating aerial. If they can stuff Shu's aerial with the Zero Suit, it's going to do a lot more damage. Right now, Shu just adding on a lot of pressure, though, not giving Fletchling any room to breathe.
Final stock, nearly the same percentage at this point. Fletchling trying to apply a little bit of pressure. That down throw can't follow up. Shu able to get out of that with that speed in the air. And that's really the difference here. Can Fletchling handle the difference in speed? Ooh. Yes, they can. Connects with another aerial, trying to get back on stage. But EE, Fletchling not really with that stage control that we saw in that first stock.
Whoa.
And this is what you love to see. Both fighters over 100%. And who's going to connect here? Oh, the Zair coming out from Shu. And Shu able to battle back into this one. And that's what you love to see, that persistence that pays off. You might be taking your lumps early on in a matchup, but being able to adjust mid-match, not just in after you take an L, but being able to quite understand what you need to do to get back while you still have a few stocks left.
Especially with how that first stock went. I mean, the first stock just getting knocked off, Shu just getting caught out of their jump, Fletchling really taking advantage and being an opportunist there, but it didn't really matter in the end. You could see Shu still going off stage, still being aggressive despite how that first stock went, and getting that plasma whip to take game one. Just realizing that, okay, obviously you shouldn't go off stage in those situations, but you should go in others. Maybe overshooting in the first stock of the game, but on the third one, knowing your limitations and saying, okay, I could definitely go off here.
We'll get the same matchup once again. Shu taking that first game, needs one more to advance to winners finals to take on Manny. But here comes Fletchling with Robin trying to adjust the play style here. And Coney, it really felt like when Fletchling was able to hold the center of the stage and just sit there and be patient and wait for Shu to approach, that's when they were having their most success.
Definitely. I think that Robin, in particular, really relies on stage position. I mean, he's the master tactician for a reason, right? Needs to really control space and use their ground more than the opponent. Meanwhile, Zero Suit is a very aerial fighter, will be hopping around a lot, trying to evade Fletchling's advances. You can see Fletchling stuck on that platform, not really sure what to do. He's doing a great job early on, but oh, I love that throw.
So here we go. Fletchling doing a fine job of racking up damage on this first percentage, staying grounded, just being patient, letting Zero Suit Samus approach here with Shu. And at this point here, EE, if you're Fletchling, just continue to be patient. Don't overextend yourself. As they like to say, stay within your game.
Oh.
So excellent job of Fletchling to take that first stock. Now here's where you've got to find that separation though, Coney. You can't just be happy with taking that first stock and all of a sudden get bopped and lose yours and now you're back to 0-0 on that second stock. What can Fletchling do to find that separation?
Watch that spike. I mean, we saw it in that first game. That spike, the Zero Suit flip kick. Oh, and there it is. That wouldn't have spiked, obviously, because Fletchling was still standing on the stage, but it is so much knockback. You can see that plasma whip, just a menace. And you can see how Shu is applying so much pressure here, just doing everything that they can to catch Fletchling off guard. But Fletchling is playing some incredible defense here. Still trying, has to dodge the plasma whip. Going very low on the recovery, but up smash, still not enough. Unbelievable.
Fletchling staying alive, and that's all you got to up until that second commentator's curse. Is that what it is still? I am so sorry, Fletchling, for even going there with you. But that excellent job with Shu. Listen, you were out on that field for a while, and you were still able to just take 17%, and now it's an even game at this point. And even though you were down that first stock, but here comes the aggression. Finally, the grab by Robin and Fletchling trying to get back to that middle of the stage and hold things down. Meanwhile, for Shu here, EE, it just feels like go in, go out, find your opportunities, and build up that damage. Fletchling able to recover. If you look and see that they're pretty low on some of their arc win, trying to get back up on stage. Fletchling does. Here is Shu, and now it's Shu, it feels like, Coney, that's really controlling the stage and just batting Fletchling off the left and right hand side.
There's just so much aggression here from Shu. You can see off stage just constantly throughout this game. I feel like if we're talking about the time, we're a couple minutes in, at least 70% has have to been off stage. Fletchling just forced into position to constantly recover. And Shu's just like a fighter pilot, constantly buzzing around them. And finally, Fletchling, again, not able to recover simply because of distance.
So now it's a 2-1 advantage for Shu after losing that first stock, and this is very similar to the first game here, EE. Get down a little bit, you don't worry, you don't panic, you keep putting your pedal to the metal and applying that pressure, and eventually you're hoping Fletchling might crack, and we're starting to see some cracks in the foundation here.
Ooh. 38. Shu trying to hold on to that stock as long as possible. And Fletchling, honestly, is just having such trouble keeping up with this aggression, this constant speed, just constantly running at it.
So here it is, 1-1. Final stocks remaining here. Fletchling did a really nice job of just getting back into this one while still saving some room for percentage. But here it is, the spike coming out from Shu. And that'll wrap it up, 2-0, moving on to winners finals. And that spike, Coney, you said you gotta look out for that. You have to avoid it. Still couldn't do it in time.
There it is again. I mean, that flip kick is such a potent, powerful move, especially to shave off stocks just right before you get into that comfort zone, right? It feels like when you're at 30, 40, 50%, you're not even thinking about the KO. You're thinking about, okay, I've still got 5 more hits before I have to start worrying about KO options. 6 more. Zero Suit is so disruptive in that way because she can really find ways to take that stock off immediately before you even have the opportunity to really process it. And on a character like her, you don't expect it because she's also so fast, so nimble. You sort of get ideas of a character like Sheik, who obviously is that fast, but doesn't really have the explosive KO power of somebody like Zero Suit. Just expert play from Shu.
And that's what I was going to say. It's just so dangerous when you look at Zero Suit Samus with the KO power, but also the speed to just keep you off balance. So that'll put Manny against Shu here in the winner's final and EE. When you're looking at what we saw from Shu, it feels like their mobility and their speed is going to be very beneficial against Manny, who love to utilize those blocks and the minecart to really disrupt your approach to them. I'm really excited for this matchup to see how they handle a high-level Steve when you're in the shoes of, no pun intended, well, Shu. I'm sorry, EE. I am so sorry for that joke. I am so sorry.
You're perfectly fine. You're perfectly fine. Honestly, the way that went is really kind of setting up the perfect winners finals. So much so, I feel like the intensity was so ridiculous. Apparently, it's destroyed my communication. So I'm trying to fix that right now. I apologize, folks. Just give me a second. Jordan and Coney got this for a minute. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, you were good, my friend. EE, you will always be with us here, whether physically or in spirit, no matter what we're doing here. So, Coney, you look at this matchup with Manny and Shu, and you've got Steve versus Zero Suit Samus. I know you've called so many of these matchups, right? This is such a common matchup here, but what do you make of someone with Steve that has all these tricks to just really junk things up and really throw you off your rhythm versus Shu, who has one of the most mobile fighters in the entire game?
I think it's going to be very difficult for Shu to get around Steve's playstyle. Obviously, there's so much air-to-air that Zero Suit normally thrives in. She wants to jump in. She wants to sort of get you with quick aerials and sort of pop in, pop out, and make stuff happen very briefly. The problem is that Steve's aerials last a pretty long time, and they can be devastating. If you have that diamond pickaxe back air, Zero Suit might fly off the stage at 50-60%, depending on how deep it is, might get KO'd super early. So it's going to have to be a game of cat and mouse in a way. I think Shu is going to have to be extra careful with how they approach Steve in this matchup.
Yeah, as we get set for winners final here, it'll be Manny versus Shu. Both of them breeze to winners final, courtesy 2-0 in their respective matches. And as you get to that top of the pyramid, we've said it before, Coney, that talent level just gets higher and higher, and maybe patterns or habits that you established before that kind of got glossed over because of the competition level, they really start to show up as potential weaknesses when you get to this high level of play.
Yeah, the higher in bracket you go, you absolutely see players that are able and, well, willing and able to exploit just more and more of the bad habits that you're bringing out to them. I mean, every little habit, every little nuance that you bring to a character can be exploited in a way, often in indirect ways. I mean, at lower levels of play, you see a lot of rolling, you see a lot of the same ledge options over and over. But the deeper you get into a tournament, a player will see a habit of yours and keep that on lock 3 games in advance. They'll lock it down and say, okay, I'm going to do this to get a stock when it matters most. I'm not going to pull the trigger if I don't need to, but I'm going to hold on to this in my back pocket. And then when you least expect it, you might lose the stock and get KO'd at 20.
Yeah, EE, as we get set for these winners finals here, you guys have seen a lot of talent rise to the top. There have been some stalwarts when it comes to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate that have just consistently won tournaments. But when you see these newer faces start to break in, what have you noticed about these competitive players that really help them establish themselves and then improve? How did they get to that next level? What's it been like when you've talked to some of them about that?
Well, the main thing I'll tell you right now is they're young and they're hungry, okay? No old heads like me are taking spots in events like,
oh, you're not an old head. You're not.
All right? But, I mean, supreme confidence in yourself. Smash is such a fast-paced game, and, really, like, that's how, like, these kids like to play. Like, the pick characters are kind of enable them to kind of go the distance, make these high-level plays that we really appreciate. And I think in the case here of both Manny and Shu, I mean, just their opening games and semis really shows you, like, yo, these young kids are out here. They want to play good, and I think we're going for a very big treat in winners finals.
Coney, I'm trying to keep up, but it feels like Manny has hit Shu with about 19 different objects already in the first 30 seconds of this matchup.
Yeah, this is what I was worried about. It feels like Shu is just getting battered by traps all over the place. It's like a cartoon or something, but that's sort of what Steve makes you do. You can see the down smash there, trying to catch Shu off on the edge. You can see trying to farm in the meantime, trying to mine for that diamond. Hasn't found it just yet. We're going to see the kick, but it's not going to spike. And you could see Manny not afraid to just pop that up B to get that recovery, blast right past Shu, and go to the ledge.
So Shu was able to get a little momentum, but now it seems like both fighters here, EE, just kind of finding their balance in the middle of the stage, trading blows, and they both had their little runs, but it feels like they're starting to kind of figure out the other's play style here, and it really feels like Shu has kind of gathered their bearings.
Yeah, it seemed like that for a minute.
Up until that point.
Commentators.
Second time I did that to you, Shu. My bad.
You can hang with the best of us, Jay. No doubt about that. Pretty clear these two can hang with each other as the stocks continue to fall. Back and forth we go. No clear advantage building just yet, but definitely like what I'm seeing out of Manny. The confidence. There you see that card just busting out of the pressure. Good little burst option there to just kind of alleviate some of the stress that can come out. Use it as a good approach option as well. Just dropping that anvil and really just threatening these stocks here. Chu looking to land safely.
And Coney, Alex, this fighter has so many powerful and potent one-hit options, but how about the response by Shu right there?
There it is again. We keep talking about it. Zersuit, she could get battered like that over and over, just consistently getting nailed by these, by the carts and by the TNT and by the pickaxe. But all they need is that one flip kick. Manny cannot be too comfortable at any point. Right now, with a huge advantage, there's the gold back here. And like I said, almost knocking Zersuit out, gonna explode the TNT. But really, Shu is just one down B away from taking the stock.
And that's what's impressive about Whisper at this moment, just keeping Shu at bay. Can Whisper recover? Oh, I think Manny's gonna take it, so how about it, Cody? You called it, my man.
I don't know how Shu consistently finds these setups and how they're able to get off stage and catch Manny. Manny just trying to recover, just trying to get back on the stage. Please, can I come back? You don't even need the ledge. Please let me come back and let's have a real fight. Shu said, no, not today.
And just incredible once again, EE. We saw Shu getting battered really at the beginning of that first stock, and you felt like, oh boy, here goes Manny just running away with it again. But really started to learn that they could navigate a lot of these traps, as Coney said. And once Shu was able to avoid the traps and find those openings, and especially get Manny off stage, it really felt like that's where Shu excelled, was with Manny trying to recover.
Well, if you look at the game that they played against Fletchling, right, off stage was never a concern at all for Shu. Shu kind of thrives on that, likes to go off stage and apply a lot of that pressure. And right there, serving them incredibly well, like 3 times going back to back to back. That third hit finally enough to get the KO and seal that first game away in a comeback fashion at that. We saw just how dominant that Manny was in the first time that we were able to see them on screen in semis. But right there, no answers for Shu.
And Shu already having to eat some TNT and the anvil nearly missing at this point. It feels like with these platforms, that's just more chaos that Manny can work with here, Coney.
It absolutely adds an element of that randomness too, at least on Shu's side, because there's so much more to consider. They have to get through the platforms also, because obviously, like I was talking about before, Zersuit loves to approach from the air, but now she has to contend with the fact that those platforms are in the way, and also a wall. You can see Manny building a little house for themselves, and has the diamond pickaxe now. That back air will KO anywhere on the stage, I believe. And
there it is.
You're welcome.
Coney,
you're welcome.
Okay, Coney, can you tell me the lotto numbers coming up here? Can you let me know what interest rates are going to be? I mean, my man, you're 2 for 2 here with the premonitions.
Hey, they got one move, and it's excellent. I don't know what to tell you. That is the KO special.
Well, already it's now a 3-2 stock advantage for Manny, trying to force a Game 3 here in Winners Finals. Can Shu bounce back like we saw in that first game here? And now it feels like things are slowing down a little bit. Maybe not as much chaos, but that diamond pickaxe just so effective, EE.
100%. I mean, you kind of get the feeling too that Manny is just playing with just a little bit of frustration. Like, I don't know how I let that first game really get away from me, but not trying to let that be the case in the second. May not have a choice though if Shu has something to say with that, cleaning up that stock with a clean back air, kind of resetting this position right now, trying to play around those blocks and that pressure. Thief's so good and just kind of frustrating you in certain junctures and moments of the match. Got to be careful how you get it, even for a character as Ariel as ZSS. And speaking of Ariel, she definitely went flying on that one.
Yeah, Manny just building circles around Shu at this point here, it feels like, Coney, and just finding those pockets of times to go to the crafting table and to just continue to mine for resources. And here comes Shu, though. As we said before, if they can get Manny off the stage, that's where they really excel now, just trying to rack up some huge percent while keeping them in that recovery mode.
Offstage, just master, an aerial ace here on Shu. Unfortunately, going to stay as grounded as possible in that minecart, just stuck in there. And you can see Shu losing their stock. But Manny cannot be comfortable. Honestly, at 101, against most characters, you're like, okay, I'm hurt, but I'm not too bad off. But against Shu, in particular, it seems like they could just take the stock at any time. Using that diamond tool to great effectiveness, though, getting 56% already.
And I was going to say, that's been clutch for Manny here. You were at 101. You were just maybe one misstep away from Shu evening this thing up in the stock count, but now you have chipped away and maybe taking it 2-0. And yes, Manny does it. Oh, EE. This is going to suit up to be a very exciting third game because it feels like Manny maybe cracked the code on Shu and realized, I've got to continue to craft. I've got to throw up some walls and some blocks to keep them at bay. And I think between the three platforms and just the really wise building at times with those blocks, really kept Shu at bay and did a fine job of just never letting them really get into a really good rhythm.
100%, man. He said crack the code. How about cracking some heads too? I mean, that's the way you got to bounce back. A game that you feel like you have well in hand in that first game just kind of gets stolen away from you. You know what? Don't let it frustrate you. Bounce back in game number 2. A very good 2 stock to send us into a little bit of overtime here with this third game. I'm eager to see where we're going to be headed to. Looks like it's going to be some classic Smashville action to decide who's going to be our first grand prize winner.
Game 3, winners finals, and now it's Shu sprinting out to an early lead. Doesn't have those pesky 3 platforms in the way, and you're already noticing a massive difference there, Coney.
Yeah, the smaller stage is really helping out Shu in terms of just running Manny down. That platform might be difficult for Manny too, because if they ever get stuck on it, it feels like Shu would just be able to shark under it. It also means, however, Shu is going to have to jump all the way around if Manny opts to build. You saw that wall there, it just creating a huge spot that Shu was not able to enter from. Shu just using constant aggression, though. Manny seems like they're having a lot of difficulty keeping up, but he has to retreat because of that TNT exploding.
And Manny knows the assignment here. You see them using that platform for shelter for the majority of this stock so far, not allowing Shu just these free aerial approaches. But now Shu has got Manny where they want him. Off stage, Manny able to try and get back on. Beautiful counter right there with that pickaxe.
Shu, this is really kind of like one of the best situations you could hope for. Very strong lead at the beginning of this. You don't want to let this one kind of fall by the wayside. Trying to find these one hits, maybe get a little bit of a stun into a follow-up, but not quite has worked out for their favor just yet. A lot of rolls coming out right now. You got to be careful on those rolls, man. Eventually, somebody's going to pick up on that. That percent gets a little higher, and that's when that stock can really be in jeopardy.
Yeah, I need help with the rolls at Thanksgiving, man, to be honest. So here we go. We've got 147 for Manny at this point sitting here. If you are Shu, you've got to get this KO, but it feels like Manny's doing an excellent job of just hanging in there at this point here, Coney.
Yeah, living at 147 is huge against Zero Suit. And honestly, it's just not off-stage stuff. I mean, you're not getting hit by the spike. Zero Suit has to land the back air, and they do. There you go. Really, that was the only way that she was going to get that stock off. Oh, but going for a ride all the way down to Smashville. Oh, dear.
Oh, boy. Yeah, Donkey Kong Country ain't the only game where you can lose a life on the minecart here. So now you see Manny with a very quick response. It's back to 2-2, and it comes back to Shu now being able to navigate this one platform, and Manny continues to just use it for shelter and then really does a fine job of throwing that minecart out there. And how about that combo with the golden sword?
Manny's conversions right now are on the money, and it's really just kind of given to the fact that Shu kind of really gave up a terrific lead they had. Again, as Clayton said, not being able to, seal away that stock was the big kind of catalyst to that. So now if you're Manny, you're kind of like, okay, playing with house money a little bit here, get another opportunity, and how about another stock to go along with that? Just one away from taking out Shu.
Manny with the anvil. Shu's gonna have to act here quickly, but it's Manny just kids bopping along right there. Shu able to get back on stage, but Manny, a very impressive showing, but Shu, there you go. Able to strike quickly here, Coney, and we've got ourselves a game. Game 3, final stock, winner's final.
Oh, you can see the up air getting the forward air as well, has the TNT box, which forces Shu to go high. 82% now is pretty high, especially if Manny is able to get that diamond. Doesn't even need it though, throws out the gold forward smash, or maybe they did because Shu able to survive by the skin of their teeth. Let's see if it comes out for them big. Gonna have to see if they can get that flip kick, maybe to steal something away.
Shu will have to be flawless because at 114 you were one anvil or minecart away from eating it, and that is going to be a winner's finals victory for Manny. But so far Shu just being very patient, picking and choosing their spots. Manny as well just knows that they need that one opening here. That's not quite it yet, but that's certainly going to help the cause.
It's so difficult, right? You have to be so disciplined considering your percentage at 133. And then at the same time knowing that, look, okay, I got to get some offense going, surviving hit after hit. My goodness, man, I can tell Shu definitely wants it, but the percent may not yield to a victory right now.
Yeah, Shu's got to dance around everything at this point here, Coney. You cannot have any missteps at 150, and hasn't been able to apply any pressure. That's the problem. Manny has just been chilling here at 18 to 25% for a while now.
This is what that back air is certainly going to do it. That's what I was worried about, though, is that Shu really lives off of that aggression of being able to pop in and pop out, throwing out those forward airs, being disruptive with neutral air, but you can't do that against Steve because you make one misstep, and that back air is just going to sink right into your face. Unfortunately, I mean, there's just too much stuff. There's the cart, there's the back air. You've got a wall up if you want to get through it. Obviously, Steve is going to try to get the diamond, so you have to constantly aggress on that. There's just so many pieces of the puzzle that lead to Steve's favor. So Shu putting up a valiant effort, but unfortunately, today is Manny's.
Yeah, you forgot about the big box of TNT as well, too, that you have to keep an eye on for. And I thought you called it perfectly. Like, Shu had a huge opportunity with that 3-2 stock advantage, was sitting at just 70%, but then Manny came storming back and took the next 2 stocks. So Manny is your first grand prize winner, will win that entire grand prize winner suite that we mentioned, which means PokeLam is taking on Fletchling at this point. So we'll have another Steve matchup, but now it's going to be Steve versus Robin, and 2 untraditional playstyles, it's fair to say, and we'll see what happens here. But early thoughts on this matchup, EE?
Well, I mean, my main thought is I gotta see something out of PokeLam. I mean, just getting completely blown up the last time we saw them on screen. I didn't really get a feel for what they were trying to, or for what they're capable of doing, right, in their respective match. So I think going up here against a new opponent, maybe kind of like refresh the mindset a little bit. Obviously, Fletchling, like bringing something different to the table with Robin, not going to be an easy out by any means, but hey, at least you're giving yourself an opportunity to kind of bounce back and still keep your head alive.
Yeah, whatever happens here, Coney, there's going to be a lot going on in this stage, obviously.
No question.
And it feels like if you're PokeLam, mentally, okay, listen, I lost. It was 3-0 in my 2 games that I had, but at least I lost to the grand prize winner. So maybe I can think about what I'm doing, and I won't have to deal with nearly as much nonsense because there's no other Steve players in this bracket, and I'll finally get a chance to get on rhythm.
Definitely. I mean, it really comes down to how they expect to play this one out. Looks like it's not going to be Steve.
No, or you just change fighters. That works too.
Yeah, and it's weird because I was looking at PokeLam's run up to this point, and it looked like it was mostly Ike. Maybe Ike Steve is just particularly bad, and PokeLam tried to, try their hand at going in the Steve mirror match, but unfortunately didn't pan out. But instead, we're going to see Ike, who's a somewhat more conventional, traditional fighter in a lot of ways, against Robin, character they're going to try to stay close on.
Yeah, you mentioned it with Ike. It's really just knowing your fundamentals here. And listen, fundamentals may be fundamentals, but they can still be exciting, EE, when you execute them.
100%. I mean, Ike is just, Ike's one of those OG characters. We actually saw Ike have a lot of success in early meta of Smash Ultimate a couple years ago. That's kind of definitely fallen out of favor for a couple people, but don't get, you sleep on this character. Definitely has the right amount of power and hits to really just kind of send you for a loop, as you can obviously tell Fletchling experiencing right out the gate. And, Coney said it looked like this was the primary character that PokeLam was definitely piloting. Well, I'll tell you what, I can definitely see why, because that boy is swinging right now, and it's going quite well.
Fletchling just trying to control some of the stage. That's where they had most of their success in their opening round. And right now, you just see enough pressure coming from PokeLam that Fletchling has just had to really just speed up a little bit, it feels like, Coney.
Yeah, Ike is just so scary. I mean, just swinging the sword, really taking advantage of any misstep that you make, getting huge percent. But fortunately there, Fletchling able to sink that aerial, make something happen. But look at that. You see how PokeLam comes down, not aggressing, just kind of standing there waiting for Fletchling maybe to roll in or maybe to jump, make a mistake. PokeLam's playing a very measured game now. Unfortunately, though, Fletchling kind of stepping on the gas and is almost tied it back up.
Yeah, Fletchling doing a really fine job of responding here, and now it's Fletchling beating PokeLam to the punch here in a lot of these aerials, EE.
Yeah, that's kind of what you have to do, right? Like, I think the main thing here too, like the back and forth. Oh, what a play attempt on that! I like just the fact they're bold enough to go for that, right? You got to make some big plays down the stretch at times, and right now when it's been this even, you're on even footing, 2 stocks apiece. Definitely got to pull out all the stops.
And that's the thing, you've got to pick and choose your moments to gamble, right, Coney? When you are facing against someone that you feel like maybe might just have a little bit more experience than you, or someone that you're trying to upset, it's okay to take those big swings. You just can't be taking them all the time. And if you don't play with any risk, sometimes you don't have that opportunity to grow as a player.
Absolutely, especially on somebody like Ike, who really likes to swing big, go for the big hits. It's very easy to shield, can be very telegraphed. The real danger of Ike isn't really their big hits, it's the threat of it. It is the threat of the up smash, of the forward tilt. That is where all the fear comes from, because you're constantly afraid of things like that bursty dash attack that we see from PokeLam there to take off that second stock.
Can PokeLam give themselves a little bit of an advantage with that 1 stock lead, or can Fletchling respond quickly? And Fletchling does it exactly how you need to. Gets out of the pit stop very quickly and now ties things up. But it's PokeLam that has a quick response themselves too, EE.
I would say just Fletchling, what they did right there to get that last stock was so good. Just backed up, anticipated the nair, and just the perfect countermeasures directed towards that. Not too much right now in this final stock. You see, obviously, PokeLam really picking it up, but definitely you can tell both these players able to kind of scout out in some of those crucial situations. Getting a little scary right now, though. If you're Robin, you understand one big hit from Ike can really seal this stock away, and you know he's definitely hunting for it. Sucking off nair could be incredible.
Yeah, PokeLam doing a fine job here, Coney, of just keeping Fletchling off center stage. It feels like Fletchling having to do all that they can just to recover and get out of disadvantage. Meanwhile, PokeLam dashing in, and there it is. PokeLam taking game 1. So the fighter change certainly working for PokeLam. You go with the fundamental Ike, but you're able to give a lesson in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate 101 right there.
Yeah, felt like Ike was definitely something that PokeLam was a lot more comfortable on. Saw a lot of dash attack there at the end in the last 2 stocks, and I'm wondering if Fletchling can kind of learn something from that. I think dash attack against Robin, and this is just me theorizing, right? I mean, I'm not an expert on all these characters at all times, but it feels very safe and very powerful in a lot of ways because it is such long range. It's pretty fast. If Robin's trying to land, they don't have the best aerial drift, and so you might be able to stuff that out and catch them off guard. Even if it doesn't get the KO, just putting them back into the air puts them in a very bad spot. So PokeLam kind of spamming that dash attack to great effect. There it is again. You could see trying to drift to the ledge, and PokeLam is able to disrupt with that dash attack. That's really the secret sauce in this set that I'm seeing so far.
Coney, you're 3 for 3 now. This is getting out of hand just with your predictions at this point.
I'm a professional. I'm killing it out here, brother.
Yeah, Coney up 3 stocks to none, basically. So here we have PokeLam doing a much better job here in the early onset of just keeping Fletchling up in the air, and just the follow-up EE. It's never just one hit coming from PokeLam. It's always another one right afterwards, and that's what you are really impressed with from PokeLam. It's just their ability to string together these hits.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what Ike hangs their hat on, or in this case, their sword on. Like, just that ability to always, almost assure, like, some of these neutral hits will always lead to another one. And there's that powerful dash attack that Coney mentioned. Definitely has been the MVP go-to move thus far for PokeLam, looking to take this one 2-0, maybe well en route, just given how this is going. And one thing I'm kind of noticing with the recovery, too, maybe it was the fact that, you just kind of elected to not go the Ike earlier rounds because maybe you don't want to get blocked off by Steve, right? Maybe that was some of the shenanigans. Here, you don't have that problem, right, to worry about with Robin. It has not been an issue. PokeLam's been able to be aggressive, return safely, and really just kind of slowly build upon this lead.
Man, I tell you what, you're out here playing 4D chess while Coney and I are just talking about what we're seeing in front of ourselves. You're calling things out there as far as he's doing this because of that reason. I love it, man. And at this point here, it really feels like the recipe for Pokelam has just been a dash of sword, and we just see this consistent pressure applied to Fletchling. But here's an opportunity for Fletchling, Coney. They've got Ike off stage. You've got to follow up just like you do right there.
Wow, just can't believe that did not get the KO there. 169 still surviving. Pokelam trying to find their way in on this. Doesn't necessarily have to aggress here because obviously they are ahead, but it really behooves them to do so because Robin can take off your stock from distance. So trying to get as much pressure as possible. Finally gonna land that back air there. But honestly, with all the rage that Ike had, if Pokelam got one good read with a forward smash, maybe catching a spot dodge, that might have been the stock for Fletchling. So good to take that stock off ASAP.
Yeah, Fletchling all of a sudden is now raced to the lead after just doing a great job of avoiding damage on that second stock. And now it's just a matter of can you dance around Ike, keep them at bay. And now here comes Fletchling with a few follow-ups here, EE. And this is what you like to see. Fletchling trying to create a little bit of distance and throw some things out there for Pokelam to navigate before they can get close.
Yeah, really no panic options coming out from Fletchling, just kind of keeping it calm, cool, and collected. And some of these options from Pokelam, you know, just a few moments ago, a little too telegraphed, right? Just kind of in maybe a little bit of a desperate shuffle to regain that lead, which they have momentarily, but at the same time, gotta remember, you know, you're up against another elite class player. You cannot give anything away for free. Great snipe. Hold on now. Shouts to the quick draw, getting them back, but the pressure right now from these arc fires remain.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was just impressive right there to be able to connect there. And when you're using Fletchling and you have Robin at this point here, you got to make sure you're accurate if you're going to expend some of your energy like this, because any of those misses, you're limiting your options as you get further and further into your stock here, Coney.
Definitely. You could see Fletchling just doing an excellent job of keeping Pokelam at the edge, almost like a Belmont in a way. I mean, Belmont's really famous for their edge trapping. You see Pokelam consistently having to recover high, using that quick draw to go to platform or maybe even the main spot. The issue here, though, again, you can see that rage has built for Ike. 176, and up B will certainly take it if he can land that Aether. You know, a dash attack should do it as well. I mean, 188 now on this stock means that Fletchling has to be incredibly careful or they're at risk of losing this stock first.
Both fighters still alive at this point, and Fletchling counters with the up air. What a turn of events right there, EE. You love the quick response, and now you just got to build up a little bit of percentage. Give yourself that head start as you head into that final stock.
Yeah, that up air was absolutely brilliant. Sometimes you got to pick the aggressive option in a defensive stance to just kind of get back, and that's exactly what worked out for Fletchling. And look at this lead that has just been built. Seemingly, if you blink, you might have missed it.
Oh, burn. How about that coming out from Fletchling? And I mean, that's what's impressive to me, Coney. Fletchling was down. It felt like Pokelam was running away with this, but then all of a sudden Fletchling just continued to apply that pressure and then really wasn't afraid. Played without any fear, worry, or reservation when they had that 2-1 stock lead. That almost opened things up for them even more.
I just don't even know where that came from. That burst of momentum just came right out of the book. I read every single spell in that thing because it seemed like Fletchling just had some burst of energy that I don't think we were accustomed to, and certainly Pokelam wasn't ready for that. So I guess we're going to a game 3 between these two. We're seeing a real showcase of what a dynamic matchup this can be. Obviously, I mean, when it comes to Ike, you want to get in close. Not really as much of a spacer as a character like a Marth or Lucina. Obviously, spacing is important because you want to have somebody at the maximum edge of your threat bubble. But with Ike, it's really about the huge range of that neutral area. It's not about keeping people out. It's about getting in yourself.
My goal, Coney, is to find other uses for the term threat bubble, so I appreciate you introducing that to my life right there. So in this final game here, this is the game 3 losers semis, as we mentioned. The winner here will move on to losers finals and a chance to win one of our 2 grand prizes that we're awarding here today. It feels like Fletchling EE just needs to continue to play loose and free. When they start to be a little bit more careful and judicious, that's when it feels like Pokelam can get that's when Fletchling can get the advantage here and really apply some of that pressure.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's kind of weird, right? Because like you'll be in situations where it's like, okay, my game plan thus far, I'm thriving, I'm in a good position. Then other times, like, oh man, it just cost me a whole stock. So it does kind of make you put you on your back foot to an extent and make you rethink and reevaluate how things are going. Obviously, right now, PokeLam got to be feeling comfortable about this lead they put themselves in, back and forth on those nairs. The aerials from Ike, yes, they can really threaten. That's the Arcfire giving a little bit of alleviation to that pressure, because right now you can definitely tell PokeLam smelling blood in the water.
So PokeLam trying to build up a little bit of a lead here with that 3-2 stock advantage. Oh, was trying to be aggressive and gets the spike off the stage. How about that, Cody?
We saw Fletchling do that to Shu in their earlier set, but here PokeLam doing it right back, and now a 3-stock-to-1 lead, trying for the desperate forward smash, thinking that it would go through the shield. I mean, that shield was all the way down. You can see PokeLam now with an extremely comfortable lead. Fletchling not putting themselves in a position to really block the ledge, just trying to hold that center. And PokeLam is well on their way to moving on to the bracket, just needs a little bit more. Maybe they'll have one more hit at this point.
PokeLam, who lost both their first games in the winners semis 3-0, 3-0, on the verge of 3-0ing themselves to move on to losers finals. Can PokeLam close it out with all 3 stocks in hand? Fletchling will have to mount a monstrous comeback to even stand a chance here at this point. It's been PokeLam and Ike that have really continued to put the pressure on Fletchling. That's going to be 1 stock for Fletchling, so avoids the 3-0 sweep, but still at 92% EE. It feels like it's just a matter of time for PokeLam.
Yeah, at this point, you're just kind of hoping that Spellbook has a spell called Miracle, because that's exactly what you're going to need right now to continue your run in this bracket. It has been all PokeLam from jump, showing no signs of slowing down. Just really looking for that one finishing blow that can maybe link into it. That back air might just do it. Yes, dropping down from that platform to secure the victory and rolling on into losers finals.
So PokeLam advances to losers finals to take on Shu, and that's what it seemed like they needed here. Coney was just a fighter change and looked like a completely different, competent play style with Ike right there.
Like I said, I was shocked when we saw Steve rolling up in that first match, because I was looking at the data. I was like, okay, I think it's Ike all the way. And then we saw Steve. Maybe like Yi said, comes down to the recovery, because it's very easy to stuff out that Ike recovery if you try to come from above. And then if you try to come from the side, like with quick draw or something, trying to recover high, it's easy to stuff out with back air. You could also just put up the bricks that way. I mean, there's just no shortage of options for Steve. But we're going to see Shu versus PokeLam here. Ike versus Zero Suit, I would have to imagine.
Yeah, you would think so, right? And EE for Ike and PokeLam, it really felt like that once they could apply some of that pressure with that dash attack too. That's what we mentioned is what really stood out, especially in the first couple of games there against Fletchling. It seems like now you're going against somebody that's much quicker than what you saw in Robin, a completely different play style. So I wonder how you adapt to that if you do go with Ike.
Well, basically, I mean, you have to be a little more, I want to say, sparing with just throwing out that dash attack. I don't think it's going to be quite as effective against Robin, especially at the outer shield options for ZSS going to be more reliable, I want to say. Obviously, speed advantage is going to go to her as well. It's really just going to come down to how well you can kind of hold that stage and not get like overwhelmed when you're recovering off. Like I said, with Ike, sometimes it feels like it can be a little telegraphed. Luckily, they're strong enough, quick enough, where it kind of like makes up for that deficiency, but still at the same time, we've seen Shu, you know, when it comes to going off stage, you know, whether it's just getting stocks or just stealing games, he has no problem putting together a masterclass in that.
Here we go, losers finals for regions 1 through 4. The winner here will take home the other grand prize package. It is PokeLam who made the switch from Steve to Ike once they fell down to the losers bracket, and they have found a lot more success with the Fire Emblem sword-wielding fighter. But here comes Shu in Zero Suit Samus, who we know, Coney, is going to provide much more mobility than Robin.
It's really going to be the same thing that I was talking about with Shu against Manny earlier. Zero Suit, very quick, very deftly maneuverable, trying to get in there to hit these aerials and to get back out. The issue is that PokeLam is really going to try to beat them to the punch throughout the aerials as they're coming in, try to beat them on the way in, trying to counter the aggression. You can see it there with the neutral air, with the forward air, trying to push forward hitboxes while Shu has to sort of float in, navigate through them.
And right now, it's very even, 92 to 91, as you can clearly see. And for Pokelam, it's just really a matter of being able to not let Zero Suit Samus just close the gap so quickly. I mean, you've got a couple of options from Zero Suit Samus with that Zair that can really outrange you for the most part, but you've got to be able to counter wisely, it feels like here, EE.
Yeah, 100%. He saw that great positioning that actually Shu found himself in. And this is really good for Shu to get that first stock off, because you're going to see ZSS have an easier time accumulating extra damage off of a stock advantage than somebody like Ike would. Again, you know, that speed advantage just going the way of Shu. But advantage right there for Pokelam, that dash attack, the MVP from that last set, making an appearance yet again to secure that stock.
Yeah, and that was a really quick turnaround right there, Coney. But speaking of quick, once again, the patented go-to move when you need a KO, Coney.
There it is again. I mean, that flip kick is so strong, especially if you're off stage. It's already a great KO option on stage. It can usually KO around like 130, 140, depending on weight. But off stage, it just becomes a totally different beast. Really finding a way to sink that stock of Pokelams, and now Shu has a very comfortable advantage. And especially with how mobile Shu is, I don't think Pokelam is really going to get any like crazy Ike stocks. It doesn't seem like that's really what Pokelam does. We're not seeing any charged up smashes, forward smashes, any huge reads here. Just great, solid, fundamental Ike play. But he might need to roll the dice a little bit to get back into this game, being a whole stock and a half down.
Yeah, it just feels like Shu and Zero Suit Samus doing an excellent job. And we'll go ahead and pause and reset things here in just a second. That happens. Sometimes somebody possibly kicks the switch, as we say. And so
I would
reset.
I'll tell you the truth.
So it'll be a 2-to-1 stock advantage for Shu with 43%. And when you take a look at Pokelam, they're at about 90% right there. But Coney, continue to go on, because it really did feel like Zero Suit Samus and Shu, they're just faster than Ike, and the frame data was better. And so you're just looking for those openings, and you're going to play a technically sound game where here's my opening, I know my move is faster, I'm going to go in and then use that to string up some damage.
No question. Ike just has to do a lot of... It's either reads or guessing, depending on how cognizant they are, obviously.
Well, you're very cognizant, by the way.
Sure. Yeah, of course, obviously. No, when it comes to reads, obviously, if Pokelam can get sort of a bead on when Shu... I don't know why they're... Okay, sorry. Shaquille O'Neal sometimes shows up on my...
Hey, why not?
Yeah, I don't know why he shows up. I got nothing to say to him. No, anyway, what I was trying to say... I don't know why he has to pop up every once in a while. I got it right here. All right, so anyway, what I was trying to say is that Zero Suit just so adept at getting in, getting the damage, popping back out. Ike goes for guesses or reads. The reads are you try to get a bead on when Shu is trying to come in, get the landing, and try to plant that attack immediately as they're coming in. A guess is just, I think you're going to jump here, so I'm just going to throw something out and then back up with the goal of not taking any damage yourself. So I want to see more of that from Pokelam, maybe something a little bit more committal, which might be bad in the long run, because you're going to take like 20-30% over time, but it might mean that you get a stock off very quickly if you play it right.
Coney, I feel like Shaq agrees with you on all that as well, too. So,
yeah,
appreciate
he better. I'm going to delete it from my Alexa, so he better stop. Better stop playing with me.
And so, EE, when you are Zero Suit Samus and Shu and you have that speed advantage, how do you want to best utilize that in a matchup against Ike here?
Well, I mean, they were doing it perfectly in that first game, like just kind of running circles around. You're never really stationary with the character like ZSS, because you understand you have a strong combo game, and in the case we were seeing, just overwhelm your opponent. I do feel like this first game, we're obviously going to pick it back up where we left off. I think this is definitely going the way of Shu, and I think they just kind of understand, like, look, the advantage is clearly on my side with speed. I'm overwhelming you with all this momentum, all these hits, and yes, Ike is very powerful. What are you really going to do with all that power if you can't get those solid hits to keep connecting in time? You know, before you know it, sure, I got the stock off, but I'm already lapped the stock. I'm down 50%. It's a lot of things that can go wrong, you know?
So they will reset things to right before the connection error, where it was 2-1 stock advantage for Shu. They're at about 40%, so they'll try to get that as close as possible. And then for Pokelam, they're closer to 90%. And I keep saying it, Sony, I just want to see somebody charge up a smash attack at this point, right when they're about 5% away.
Yeah, definitely. Just try to get a cheeky little advantage.
Yeah. My bad.
Yeah, definitely. What's interesting to me is seeing the moves that they opt to choose, because there is move scaling in this game. If you hit a move multiple times,
yes,
it'll go down in damage. So when you're doing this, it's actually a whole strategical thing, because you want to make sure that you're using a move that might not get the KO. Like, Shu doesn't want to use boost kick or a flip jump, because that might get the KO in the future. So they go for down smash instead, since it's a setup move. Just even the small things like that show how much mastery Shu has over their character.
A really good point. And EE, you want to exhaust those stank moves for sure, so you have the best ones available for you at this point. And now with this 2-1 advantage, Shu trying to take this first game of losers finals, and is really just, as we said before, got the mobility edge over Ike and Pokelam, and is just doing an excellent job of rushing in and finding those openings.
Yeah, and really right now for Pokelam, right, what you're thinking right now is, okay, how can I do a little bit better in game number 2? Obviously, that up there, that was huge. Right there. That was huge.
Okay.
Don't let that distract you from the fact that man is at 157%. So, it's cute right now, but it's not really going to make the difference.
Yeah, it's one of those times where you're saying I'm keeping it 100 isn't a good idea for the most part. So Shu taking the first game of losers finals, now just one game away from claiming our second grand prize. And I think we said it all before when play paused right there, Coney. It's, if you are Pokelam, you got to roll the dice a little bit more. You are not going to be able to have that success playing that technical game unless you were absolutely perfect in predicting when those openings are going to appear with Zero Suit Samus. And so far, you haven't had much luck doing that.
Yeah, I would like to see a little bit more in terms of just, I don't want to say reads, because that sounds so like easy to do when you say it like that. Oh, just read more, play better. That's not what I'm trying to say. I just want to see a little bit more commitment in situations where, Shu's jumping a lot. There's a lot of jump ins, a lot of neutral airs. Maybe try to catch something with an up smash on the swing. Yes, you might get hit, you might get stuffed out, but one, it makes you respect his jump ins a little bit more. And also, the damage you take is going to be mostly negligible. I mean, you're taking 15, 20 off these strings anyway. What's one more, right?
Right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You have such high damage output with some of these moves that you can commit to if you are Pokelam. Sure, they're a little bit harder to hit because you've got to really predict what's going to happen and have that hard read, as Coney said, right. EE, but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, and that just isn't the case right now.
You just described my last relationship perfectly, but you know what? We've all been there, I'm sure. We've all been in situations like this where you understand. I've got to respond, and I've got to figure out a way to kind of figure out why my opponent is just in more of a dominating position. It really does, it really does come down to that sometimes. And I think, with a grand prize on the line, a best of 3 situation too, yeah, you could really kind of benefit from taking some chances right now. That's one thing, honestly, Ike really benefits. Like, that risk-reward factor can be such a huge swing in the way things come down. And there, speaking of swings, there it is, that dash attack finding its mark, and just like that, you see Pokelam in the lead.
Pokelam taking that first stock, now just trying to add up a little bit more before Shu can take another one away. Shu able to get Pokelam off the stage. Pokelam able to respond. Shu climbing back on. Nothing happening after that flip kick. Nice little 1-2 jab coming here from Pokelam. And feels like Pokelam is starting to kind of speed things up a little bit more here, Coney, and finding their rhythm.
Yeah, starting to put some stuff together. You can see 118 is honestly pretty high because Shu is taking off stocks pretty quickly. Has to really watch out, I think, for that up smash. I mean, Zero Suit's up smash is such a consistent KO move. It's not one that you would expect, and also it'll leave them wide open. Good forward air. Oh my goodness, Pokelam has just strung almost every aerial in Ike's arsenal and earns the stock in a way that you wouldn't expect. Usually Ike is just shoving you out of the bounds, but on that one, able to stop and just exhaust every resource Shu had.
So Pokelam turning the tables here, 3-1 lead in this second game, and already has another 35% on the final stock. And hey, listen, you did what you're supposed to do. You're in an excellent position now, EE. If you're Pokelam, you just got to make sure you continue to stick with this much more aggressive play style rather than getting back to your more passive ways that you saw in the previous game.
The worst thing you can do right here is look too far ahead. Start looking towards that third game. No, you still got to stay engaged for the second game, because let me tell you something, ZSS is absolutely one of those characters that can kind of take those stocks off a little quicker than you might like. You don't want to get caught up into some of these aerials and some of these flip kip situations that can really result in some dangerous things. Now, I don't want to commentator curse or anything like that, but definitely you see Shu trying to threaten. But no, this is really good situation for PokeLam. Obviously a game number 3 where it's looking like we're headed at the moment, but still a little bit left in this one.
PokeLam, great job trying to counter on the whiff on the stun. Now just trying to roll back and forth, but it feels like in the close quarter, it really seems like Shu is just getting these approaches, leading into these combos, and there comes that up smash that you talk about, but still not enough. Catches him on the side, but that's going to be PokeLam that takes game 2, that now sets us up for a game 3 in losers finals. What a response, Coney.
Yeesh, what a game of chicken there off on the side. You saw Shu desperately trying to swing to disrupt that quick draw, and you saw the forward air just mere pixels away. So close, and if they did land that, there's no question that stock was gone. But just a little bit of misspacing on that, and PokeLam's going to take it. I want to give a big shout out to PokeLam's up smash there. Don't think I didn't see it. PokeLam started charging an up smash when Shu jumped in. Obviously put them in a pretty bad spot, knocked them off stage, but I love the attempt, because if Shu did an empty jump, or if they overdrifted, overshot the area a little bit, that was going to be curtains, no question.
Here we go, game 3 losers final. PokeLam versus Shu, trying to get that final grand prize that is being awarded. And we've seen PokeLam realize, I got to do something different. I got to change what I'm doing here against Zero Suit Samus. It has paid off in game 2. Can Shu have the counter adjustment here? And this is what we love to see here, EE, the fact that you've got 2 fighters learning on the fly and changing what they're doing.
100%. That's one thing about this bracket, man. No one's, you're not seeing people as we progress on getting overwhelmed, right? We're seeing some pretty even contests, and I cannot say I was expecting anything less from our losers finals. That dash attack, I can't highlight it enough. How reliable it is. Obviously, we know it's Ike. We know it's one of the go-tos, but man, it just seems like the conversion rate is so effective for PokeLam, and that is how you start out a game number 3. Shu looking lost for wear.
Down throw followed by the up air, just so impressive right now from PokeLam. They feel like a different player here, Coney. It just seems like they're learning more and more skills and applying different things. It's just the improvement is happening right in front of your eyes.
You could definitely take this set and just watch it back, even if you don't play Ike or Zero Suit, and just learn so much in terms of adaptability. Just watch Shu's habits and how PokeLam has sort of adapted to them over time. The way that they're using aerials to stuff Zero Suit to stop her from coming in is just expert. But Shu, using that Plasma Whip, still not getting the KO. I mean, a lot of this just comes down to Ike just being heavier. It feels like Shu's landing the hits and things are going well, but they just can't get that KO, even with the back air there.
So PokeLam able to stay alive at 132, has done plenty of work on the second stock for Shu, trying to get this third and decisive game 3. First stock gone for PokeLam, but still the sizable advantage comes right down from the heavens for the grab into the up throw. Shu able to land safely. Shu whiffing with the aerial. Beautiful parry, can't counter. And these short hops that we're seeing here, EE, when both of them are in neutral, have been so critical for Shu to get the upper hand.
100%. I mean, really for Shu, like kind of understand, that was a little Did we forget up B is an option not just for UZSS, but for Ike as well?
Hey, that is rather new. I mean, that wasn't always a thing. Oh, you can see this is a game of chicken. Yeah, we're just jumping that. We're going to respect that.
And that is the respect that you see. You don't want to get that shield just completely obliterated by that quick draw. The stun coming out. The follow-up here by Shu. Shu's going to have to act very quickly on this final stock. And so far, is doing a good job here, Coney, of keeping PokeLam at bay. Of course, you can't rack up any more percentage because you know you're down to your final stock of the tournament.
Absolutely, and Shu is going to try to do everything that they can to sort of drift in, get the aerials, but maybe a little bit too aggressive here. You can see PokeLam cutting off the flip jump, also stopping Shu from jumping in and going for neutral. Or Shu needs to play a little bit safer, but it's so difficult with Zero Suit because you got to get up close.
PokeLam trying to close this out in losers finals and get The grand prize and rising from the ashes, Pokélam completely flips the script and takes the game and will be your losers finals winner, and we'll get our second grand prize. So Pokélam, congratulations. And EE, this is what we talked about before we set up regions 1 through 4. It was the adaptability, and I can't imagine seeing any more of it on display than what we saw with Pokélam, going from Steve and getting obliterated 3-0 to now choosing Ike and working their way through the rest of the bracket to get that second grand prize. You love to see it.
Who doesn't love a good comeback underdog story? I think that was like kind of the theme of that one. Obviously, like, it was clearly the Ike that brought him to the dance, brought him to this point, got into some matchups that were way more comfortable for Ike, and obviously put that skill on display. So big ups. No, not taking anything away from Shu. I thought they were incredible, but you know, it just kind of came down to like speed not being able to overpower the strength of Ike. That ability to just kind of catch you in those situations when you're trying to land. He's patrolling the ground. He's really tacking on the damage, and again, like, being able to recover freely too. That was another huge thing. So my hat's off to him.
Tony, we just saw 10 matches over 8 regions. Closing thoughts on everything that we had a chance to call out today.
I mean, really, the star of the show is what we were just talking about. Pokélam getting all the way back and winning it from losers. I mean, like, let's talk about the fact that all those were game 3s. I mean, you were talking about
very good point.
Yeah, having to adapt not just across multiple sets, but often in games too. I mean, in a best of 3, it's a lot less time than you might think. So Pokélam, very well deserved. Great stuff to all of our players, showing up and showing out and showing us really what high-level Smash is all about.
Well, that'll do it for the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate North American Open April 2022. From all of us here, thanks again for joining us, and make sure you continue to stay connected to Nintendo Versus for all of your Nintendo competitive action. Once again, thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
I'm a scientist of fluffy pink things, and one question has evaded me throughout my research. What exactly is Kirby? Let's start with his physical attributes. Small, round, unreasonably adorable. Great energy for walking and running until it's nap time. Has an inflatable, extendable, puffable body. Do bodies normally inflate like that? Anyway, moving on. When Kirby inhales and swallows an icy enemy, he somehow doesn't get frozen to the bone. That is, if he has bones, he can use ice-cold copy abilities through some weird metamorphosis, or osmosis, or something-osis. Also, I'm not exactly sure what happened to the cool dude. Oh well, no more Mr. Ice Guy. Kirby's got a massive appetite, so he can eat almost anything, including cars. And by eat a car, I mean covered entirely with his elastic self and use it as a means of transportation. There's that energy from before. He can walk and run and drive rusted two-door sedans. So, to conclude, what is Kirby? Well, I still have no idea. I might be a brainiac, but Kirby's got plenty of surprises that not even science can explain. See his theoretically implausible yet incredible abilities in Kirby and the Forgotten Land, available now only on Nintendo Switch. And get experimenting with the free demo on Nintendo eShop. Yes! For science! There's the staircase.
Mario Strikers Battle League. Prepare for Strike, a 5-on-5 sport like soccer that's way heavy on offense. Aim for goals by dribbling and passing to teammates, as well as by using tackles, items, and crushing special shots. The main rule in this sport is to rule the field. Try to score more goals than your opponents. There are two things to keep in mind that'll help you with your strategies. First, the gear you equip. It changes not only your appearance, but also your stats like speed, strength, and pass accuracy. Customize as you see fit. Second, the Hyper Strike. To activate this shot, grab an orb when it appears on the field and charge it while your opponents are distracted. Hit the net and you'll score not one, but 2 goals. Up to 8 players, 4 players on each team can compete against each other on one Nintendo Switch system. In addition to individual matches, online play will have an online club mode. Join an in-game club and compete for placement in the rankings. Up to 20 players can join a club, so create your own and invite friends and family to play alongside you, or join an existing one owned by other players. Try to become the world's top club. With items, tackles, and hyper strikes, anything goes on this field. Mario Strikers Battle League launches on Nintendo Switch June 10th.